And once again, we are back with episode 3 of the Beginners to D&D series. I am joined here today by Kris and Matt. Matt is a newcomer here, and Kris coming back for the second time on the podcast. Kris, welcome back. And Matt, would you like to introduce yourself?
G'day, I'm Matt.
Fair, yep.
Congratulations. Good intro, buddy.
Yes! I made it to YouTube.
Yeah, we out here, boys. So Matt's been playing about 4 years, about the same as myself, and slightly shorter than Kris, who played, one campaign before us?
I don't even know if it was... Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So that's cool and that's good, but both Kris and Matt have been players in my campaign, and of course for the campaigns that Matt has run in the past, we both have also been players. So Matt's coming at us with some DM experience as well as player experience, whereas Kris, I do believe at the moment you are still just a player, correct?
Yes.
Very fresh, very good, and very cool. Today, we are, of course, on the topic of rewarding and punishing players. In not the sexual variety, as Matt did mention before.
Yeah, we have to clarify that.
Yep, just to be sure. So, of course, firstly, we decided it would be best to discuss the criteria of what we think is something that we would personally reward as a player. Going down the list, off the bat, my biggest one, most definitely, and this is something that I'm sure that Matt can attest to, I try to reward people who actually show interest in wanting to play the game. Now, this is at least coming out of the 2-year campaign, the hero one we did. Both these two have, at least for the first year when we were starting up, continually came back to me with advice and suggestions as we custom built the story. So I'll throw it to you guys. I would say, frankly, what is the thing that you guys would say made you want to play that campaign the most? The hero one specifically. I mean, whether it's just, going off the bat of, hanging with the boys or whatever, I'll give it to you guys as an option.
Yeah, I liked, hanging with the boys, as with any good session.
Yeah, fair.
And, the campaign itself, I like the creativity,
Thanks, Kris, for fluffing my ego. I appreciate it, don't worry.
That wasn't a compliment.
Oof. That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Yes, and of course, as such, I would like to think you enjoyed it because you have stepped up to the plate. At least you've said that you've been interested in trying to build upon the style of campaign that was to do somewhat of a sequel. Likewise, Matt, actually, you have already run something of a, I don't know whether to call it an alternate universe story or just across the sea, on a on a militaristic island, your little story that we did for a couple of sessions.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, that.
Yeah, so okay, I'll throw it to you guys, or I'll throw it to you as well. What do you think is the main thing, at least, that you enjoyed about actually trying to play the story, for example?
I got really into my character.
Yep.
The story was good. What I found was if I put effort in, the effort would show in my story. That if the harder I worked on being my character and engaging in the story, the more it's not instantaneous kind of rewards.
Yeah, it's not immediate feedback.
Yeah, it's not immediate feedback kind of stuff. It's more yes, the story is going not my way per se, but it's I'm becoming more integral to the story, which adds depth to the story, because if you have more characters that do that, you can end up with quite a
absolutely
mix.
So there was the joke, of course, that I mentioned last episode that when we were recording, of how Wolfgang, your character, ended up as a protagonist to the story to some degree. And of course, that of course is a joke, because technically every player character rather is a protagonist of the story. But in that style of what we were doing, Wolfgang definitely, I think, did become one of the most integral characters because of how much we worked on him as both as DM and player. So that inherent interest that you guys kind of grew, and of course, fluffing up my ego a little bit, I suppose, but it, I think, very much did give me quite a lot of reasons to try and reward your characters, especially when you actually played the part. It's something that I was thinking about last night whilst in the shower, that there was a level of heroism, because of course it was a hero campaign. There's a level of heroism that your three characters tended to have that on the two new people who got added in later. Maybe it's just because their characters were newer, but they honestly, for quite a while, didn't actually seem to be as heroic as the characters that your two characters were, and they didn't seem as heroic as the original three, I think is the best way to put it.
I definitely feel it was their time. It
Yeah.
was solely up to the time that they spent, because these people that we added probably came, like they definitely came because they weren't just absolutely, out of the womb new to D&D, but they came from proper D&D where it was like, oh, kill shit.
Yeah.
So getting into that whole groove of, actually, instead of killing everything, I gotta, fix my problems in a constructive way.
Yeah.
They were like, shit.
Restraining, using words, that sort of stuff.
Because that's the problem we had early on, right?
Yeah, we were kind of like that early game as well, yeah.
Like, I mean, my character
Totally didn't burn someone's eye out,
interrogating and torturing someone in a train.
Yeah, that was maybe not the most heroic, but I think I did at least give the feedback at that time and be like, hey, guys.
It's not very heroic.
Yeah, you guys are supposed to be heroes. Don't forget that. Like, that wasn't very heroic of you. And at the time, of course, that was all in good fun. But, I mean, later on, as I was searching for things to throw back, that guy did come back and attack you once again. But, naturally, of course, by that time, you'd gotten so strong that you basically waved your hand. And, well, he was either on fire, pulverized into atoms, or several kilometers away from any of the abilities that you have. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, that's a whole thing. But of course, that naturally moves us to one of the other things that I would personally rate as my thing that I would reward someone for, and that's something that was reflected in the style of our previous campaign, the idea of creativity. That being said, Matt's going to quickly take a quick run upstairs because we've been being creative individuals and have started baking some brownies. So he's going to quickly take care of that. In the meantime, I'll throw the question over to Kris, or the comment rather over to Kris, of, in terms of being creative, what is something that you see in D&D that you kind of want to see more often, or in terms of, actually, what do you want to see be done more, essentially?
Right.
And while you think of your answer, I will personally say that the reason that I immediately wanted to design my own system to some degree with my hero campaign was because I personally felt restrained by what D&D was able to give us. In terms of, like, I could say, the sky splits open with sparks of lightning or something, and behind it, void, like, tentacles kind of crawl out. Or I suppose that's probably not the best example because that could just be chalked up to DM giving DM effects. But in terms of other characters doing certain things, it usually feels like it needs to be restrained to either magical item, spell, or class effect. And that was something that I felt I didn't like working with, because I much preferred to give characters certain abilities that can impact the story, something that's broad and like powerful to some degree. So, say for example, in the hero campaign, having the analog to the show's strongest character, All Might, which manifested as, I don't actually remember his proper name, but we called him Big Mus, of course.
Yep.
Him just being able to have such overwhelming power that couldn't be described or couldn't be explained by a spell, but he just exuded such force from his attacks that they were essentially able to deatomize their opponents, or the people who were receiving the punches. Likewise, I had another hero, another villain who I basically custom built that he, on the same scale, he had the ability to essentially remove people's senses temporarily if he made eye contact with them. That was one of the villains, of course, that we dealt with. And to some degree, I enjoyed in my campaign not having to necessarily restrain myself to what would be described in D&D spells. It was, I can do whatever I want as long as the suspension of disbelief brings it back down to make sense. Now, of course, I've talked for quite a while. I'll pass it over to you in terms of being creative. What do you want to see more often, or something along those lines?
I was thinking, like, potentially for like the next edition of D&D.
Okay, yeah, I'll jump up. Yeah, hold on.
I'd like to see more rules similar to like 3.5 edition. So I started on 5th edition, and I've always thought 3.5 looks cool and that it's got all these different rules and more depth to it.
Yep.
But, 5th edition is what I know.
That's fair, yeah.
So what I would like would be 6th edition. Would be 5th edition, but more complex.
Yeah, so it's brought everyone in with 5th, and now time to add mechanics for perhaps disarming or, wielding two things in one hand. For example, we're discussing having a shield, but also having a whip in the same hand.
I definitely concur with you there. Like, you find yourself, especially in more advanced combat, like, you're trying to be more advanced, and you can't. So you sit there, you're like, I slash, because that's all I can do.
Yeah, I'm a fighter at level 18, let me attack 7 times.
Yeah, so it's like, if you opened up to more of these, a little bit harder to understand kind of mechanics, it would work. Like
flanking, for example.
Oh, flanking, I think.
I do believe there is rules for
an
flanking.
Alternate rule, so it's not necessarily there.
Yep.
A lot of people don't like it because it's just easy advantage for a lot of situations.
Yeah, which if you have a rogue...
A good DM keeps it in there.
Yep.
So, like...
Wait, oof, I don't use flanking, that's a rip.
Oh, well, I mean, I didn't know about flanking till like a couple months ago.
Yeah,
so,
it's all good.
You're probably in the same boat.
Oh, it's more of I just don't like the idea of being able to give out advantage that easily.
Yeah, fair. I mean, I don't think, especially in the new rules, it doesn't work on creatures that are too big. So it's like, if you're going up against, say, a landlocked dragon turtle, it's pretty big. So you can easily circle it because it's limited movement. So it's not like everyone gets advantage. Because it's too big, you don't.
Yeah, my main thing with it is more that if you have the right builds, so say for example you've got a protection fighter plus, I don't know, another class that I can't think of off the top of my head that benefits from having other people within the same area sort of thing, that could make it very difficult for both the DM to make it even a challenge. And the other side of it, of course, is advantage means rolling more dice. And whilst rolling dice is good in D&D, if it's done wrong and doesn't have the right rules behind it, i.e. roll both at the same time, it can really slow down an encounter, especially if you have to roll a ton of dice.
And it can, with classes that gain certain benefits from having advantage, like the rogue.
Yes, rogue definitely, having extra damage and all that sort of stuff. That could be, especially imagine having a party with 2 rogues, both of which, because they're flanking an enemy, having all of the stuff on lower. Plus, I mean, at the same time, I suppose you could argue that technically I think it's Swashbuckler has that same thing where if they have a partner or a teammate within 5 feet of the same enemy, I think it is, that you have advantage.
No, Swashbuckler is a type of rogue.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, right? Is specializing. You don't even need to worry about that specific rule anyways. Yeah. But for the record, we are on the point of being creative within campaigns. I'm going to reward a character being creative. There was the story that that Sam, the player of Sal, told the other week when we were hanging out of how he, you guys got circled by some oil that was being lit, and he was able to use his sword to put it out because it extinguished all flame. I think it's non-magical and magical flame within a distance to some degree.
Yeah, the sword, I don't know if it's a proper, meta item or something that you could...
I mean, it might have been homebrew, but...
Yeah, it was called Frostbrand.
Yep.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, so it's probably just
Could
homebrew.
be homebrew.
Yeah,
I like homebrew.
Yeah, homebrew's great.
If it's done well.
Yeah, if it's done well. But this sword was pretty well balanced. It was the advantages there weren't really obtuse compared to a level like a sword of like a similar level.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, it would just it had the effect where all non-magical fire within 20 feet upon him unsheathing it goes out. So he actually, the DM said to him afterward, like we were reminiscing on that again at one stage, and he was like, "Bruh, that literally fucked me up. I had a full plan to get you guys like on fire,
Yeah.
and nothing happened because Sanj went. "Mwah."
Yeah, it was definitely a play that I can very much respect as someone who enjoys creativity in his campaigns.
Like, a lot of people also don't think about how they can interact with the environment in
Yeah.
a fight.
Mhm.
For example, I was in a campaign.
Yes.
I climbed up a small building,
Mhm.
and an enemy climbed up after me. So I just went around and shoved him back off the roof, and he landed on one of his friends, dealing damage to both of them.
Was that? That was...
Is that Matt?
Stephen.
You know, but
So
was...
I was playing Heimer.
Oh, no, I was going to say, that wasn't the one campaign ages ago where myself and Joe were, like, fully into our characters or anything.
No.
No, that was you who was with me when we were assassinating that one prince or something. Remember back right when we started playing how both myself and Joe fully
Same
were...
campaign, actually.
Yeah, it was the same campaign, but different
Same
group.
campaign,
Yeah.
but different.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But that was one of our original campaigns where both myself and Joe ended up like standing up and like playing as our characters as like I brought money back to the group and he was like, "Where'd you get that?" and all that sort of
I
stuff.
think you played a tiefling monk in that.
I think so. Yeah,
Probably. I
you
love
played a
monks.
monk. I had my
You're
sorcerer.
like, Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Though actually, that does give me
It's a good app, I love it.
That's good.
that does give me actually the question that I'll ask to you, Matt, specifically. I've recited in the past how I've noticed that when people tend to start playing D&D, they tend to gravitate towards a certain class. Can you imagine yourself, or do you recall yourself playing as a certain class overwhelmingly so at the start of your time playing D&D? Monk,
See,
true.
I
yeah.
really liked dexterous classes. So,
Yep.
the one where I had to save Jack from the bears.
Yeah.
Well, I was that Aarakocra
That's
ranger.
right, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
I had good movement and stuff. So
Jack being my brother at that time, that's his
he was
character's
playing
name.
like an elf,
Elven
ranger.
archer.
I
Elven,
remember that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was a paladin.
Yeah, you would have been, yeah.
Oh,
That was my first time DMing as well.
Oh,
Oh,
man,
yeah.
but this bloody Alex did not pay you any justice or anything. He just was like, I'm going to be a shit character.
Yeah.
Off the bat.
Granted-
I'm gonna be a wood elf ranger.
I'm going to be a wood elf ranger.
Called Jack. And I was like,
Called
okay,
Jack.
immediately that was probably not the best start because keep in mind that was a campaign that had 9 people playing for my first DM session.
That was pretty hardcore.
Yeah, it did unfortunately have the resulting effect where because you're the Aarakocra Ranger, or either Ranger or Monk, I don't specifically recall.
He was yeah.
Okay, yeah, you ended up having to fly Alex's character back to the town so that way he could rest up. And unfortunately, because that was sort of my way of saying,
Get
hey
rid of him
Alex,
real quick.
I appreciate what you're doing, but I'm trying to hang out with the boys. Can you like leave us alone? That also took your character out for a bit, and of course that was unfortunate. But he did also, kind of not. How do I put it? He kind of made some decisions that didn't turn out too well for him.
Yeah, I mean, as a DM, if someone makes a dumb decision, you shouldn't really feel sorry for them.
Yeah.
Get into that.
Oh yeah.
We're getting to that.
Don't worry, we've got plenty of that for punishing players.
Oh, good. Oh, very nice.
Yes.
Still a bit warm. But
Yeah, and of course we'll get to that afterwards. But don't be afraid to make a comment at the moment, at least.
So are we still up to being creative, right? So
We can move on if you want.
thinking. Oh, I've got something that might tie to it a little bit.
Okay.
But it's being creative. In the 4 years, I feel like it's probably the same for a lot of people that aren't actively going, well, I haven't played this. So, like, say, for classes.
Yes.
They're like, oh, I haven't played this, so I'm going to do that and try to make it work for me.
Yeah.
See, I've spent my entire time going, I'm going to make a character that feels natural.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you exactly, I've never, ever played a sorcerer, a warlock, or
Yeah, I don't think you've
warlock
played
for
Warlock.
about 5, or sorcerer actually for about 5 milliseconds in, what's his called?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I played a
That was
sorcerer.
his original... Not original.
Oh, that's right, in Watson's,
campaign.
Yeah,
So yeah, I did
Mastermind.
play I don't even consider that. I think I was there for a session,
Yeah,
and then I dipped. So yeah,
You had a Storm Sorcerer, if I'm not mistaken.
storm sorcerer.
Yeah.
Fuck, that would have been cool if I played him through. But
Yeah.
so I had him. So I think I definitely know I haven't played a wizard or a rogue,
Yeah, I've avoided Rogue at the moment.
and I think a fighter too.
Careful.
I did actually go Eldritch. I did have a character made for that one-off that you did,
Um,
Eldritch Knight.
oh, yeah, the Eldritch, which I do want to bring back. I do think that was a good campaign, or a good character, rather, that
Yeah.
I want to implement.
I don't know. I just find that it's probably the same for other people. You just don't like kind of shift over to that kind of thing.
I
Yeah.
often, the way I make characters is I just get like an idea, like a concept,
Yeah, and then
and I just build upon it, and like that's a good character, or I'm like that's a shit character, but I'm gonna keep it.
I mean, after all, we
Yeah.
did do the whole previous
I've got like
we did the whole previous episode on building characters.
I think I counted how many characters I currently have built. I think it's 20.
That's fair.
Shit,
Yeah.
that's pretty good. I've only got like 4.
Yeah, I just keep on building.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I got a mate that's like that. I don't know how many characters he had. People
Yeah,
say
I
it's
can
an
swap spots with you if you want.
I know.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair.
He has an obtuse amount of characters because he just goes, "That's what I did," and then he makes it.
Yeah, thing is, I do that occasionally, very occasionally, but unfortunately, it results in me probably never playing those characters, and as such, I usually kind of try and redirect that creative energy to NPCs or stuff in a world that I'm currently building.
That you
Well,
can
I was
actually
wrong.
use. Yeah.
What's up?
32.
32? What's this
So-
about?
How many characters I have?
Oh, okay, fair.
I've
I just
actually,
build.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. It's good for making NPCs and stuff.
yeah. So for this, I've played a lot of clerics. That's definitely my
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
the one
personality.
I remember
as
you
well.
playing the cleric.
Yeah.
Um,
Asthma cleric.
Asthma cleric.
I mean,
don't
yeah,
have
you've had a
anyone.
fair few clerics at this point.
So I think at this point I've got one. Wait, I don't have any clerics there, but I've played 4
That's fair.
in pretty dedicated campaigns.
Yeah, I know you're currently playing one, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
In my mate Jack's campaign, cleric with a homebrew domain called the domain.
Yeah, the Void domain. Or, I think we mentioned that last time because we're talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
building homebrew stuff as well.
I like it a lot. It's really cool. The way it kind of came into being was I was a Venom cleric,
Yep.
and I was like, oh, this is a big cringe. Because at one level you're going to get like weird aesthetics of a bug, and I was like, oh, I don't know. So what happened was we tied it into the story, but the person that gave me the curse, and people say, oh, just use remove curse, you're a cleric. I'll be like,
Yeah, no, but that's
like,
again.
like, that's against like the story.
Yeah,
That's against the law.
the
So that's-
story
That's
comes
another
into
problem I have with certain spells.
Yes.
Like
It just
remove
makes it too
curse
easy.
and remove disease and all that shit. Just makes the game way too easy. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, look, there's a disease in this village. You might get infected.
I mean, you see it in all forms of fantasy, right?
Yeah,
like
I've
people
got it.
go, "Oh, I can't lift this curse." Like some people aren't powerful enough, but in D&D, it's like, "Oh, I have remove curse."
I have remove curse. Rules is written. It says any curse I can remove, or rather with remove disease. It's like, oh, I'm just immune to all diseases.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's trash.
Like, I get paladins because
You're supposed
divine
to be
health,
holy,
blah, da, da,
yeah.
da, da. But just remove fucking disease. That's like
Plus, also the other thing is, as a DM, I could just say, like, if you try to do that, and I really, really wanted that to be a character feature of your character for some reason, I could just say, hey, like, out of game, can you not remove that, please? I get you have remove curse, but I mean, if you try and do it in campaign, I'll just say it's too hard. Is that cool with you? Yes, no, whatever.
like I feel like in Mastermind did try and go around this in his campaign.
Yes. Is this referring to the poison that we dealt
Yep.
with? Yes.
So-
Okay.
Like some of that, I get what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Powerful
But
poison to neutralize
I
a group of.
Kind of think that it was a bit ham-fisted.
It was.
It was trying so hard to make my character die because I played that little ranger, Aarakocra,
Yeah.
no, monk.
Aarakocra and Monk. Except I believe you
And
were
just
immune.
to poison.
I was at the level where I was just immune, like I couldn't age at that point. I was just undying.
Yeah, because
And
we
it
were
went
level like 12 by then, I'm pretty sure.
Even
It was, like,
I
high enough.
was fucking hit
Yeah,
with
big.
As a
man.
literal storm giant.
with a paladin storm giant,
Yeah.
which broken.
Yes.
I had plus 13 on a con save.
Yeah.
and you were just like, nah.
or
And then I'm
15
over
or
here and I
something like that.
failed as well just because I rolled like 2.
And
But then it's
we
like,
had-
and then he's like, oh, everyone around the table who failed takes 130 damage or some shit. And I'm
Uh,
like, well, looks like most of the table is hit and
and
is
then
unconscious.
Someone had like cast like the cure poison shit.
I remember because I had the ability to bend fate at that point. I tried to QE you and then fucked that up apparently.
But the cure poison spell, which just says it cures poison,
Yeah.
did nothing.
I specifically cast that on you as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause I at that point that was for Jin, which is the character that I was playing. And if you've been tuning into my Paper Mario 1000 Year Door playthrough, the name of my Yoshi, I tried to cast Remove Poison because that was one of the spells that I had. That didn't work. Tried to bend Fate, and basically I was like, okay, if we don't have access to our Storm Giant, we are pretty fucked. So, yeah, I made that decision as Jin to try and fix that. Didn't really work. That's fine. At least you still survived. 130 health was like a third of your max health at that point.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really that big of a deal. Yeah. But that was just whatever it was. But that being said, I suppose talking of motivations for characters, I think we'll move on to the other main thing. And feel free as well, I'll put it out to you two once we finish this point. If you have a point that you want to bring up, this is only the criteria that I have at least got. But if you have one that you yourself would like to bring up, we can discuss that as well. But my final point is staying in character. I very much enjoy, and this is something that Wolfgang I very much appreciated, and same thing with Canium. With that campaign, I would like to think that you guys very much enjoyed your characters, and as such, they, to some degree, I do think were somewhat an extension of yourselves. However, that being said, despite it being, even with it being an extension of yourself, I still would like to think that you guys enjoyed playing those characters, and hence were able to stay in those characters. I, however, on other occasions, have dealt with people who are less inclined to stay in character, and that is something that bums me out, because either that means that their character isn't interesting enough, my story isn't interesting enough, or they're just trying to disrespect me, or just are bored.
I feel like that was definitely a thing with Astro. I didn't really see him in character, but then again, that could have been his character.
Well, that's the thing. I find Astro specifically, my interpretation of what he was going for was that it was supposed to be, and he did have quite a bit of time where he was in character. It's just something that was sort of hard to detect because, and this goes back to what we were talking about last week, he didn't actually have a character voice. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was, I think, 2 people, maybe 3, including, I think, yourself, who had a character voice for their characters. Granted, of course, that faltered over the 2 years, so it was less reliable. But, however, that's a whole thing. If you stay in character, generally, naturally, I'm going to be a lot more appreciative than if you're just breaking character constantly. But that also goes to motivations. That also goes to, if you've got a character voice, then that's good. All that sort of good stuff. Okay. That being said, do you have anything you want to throw into criteria for rewarding players before we move on to types of rewards?
I think there's one. Oh no, that falls under the stand. I was like just being like, being respectful enough to listen.
Do stuff. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, because I do believe I was going to make that another point, but yeah. Just basically, if you don't be an arse, you listen to your DM, then they're going to appreciate it.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. It's like the whole game becomes just shit for everyone if, the DM's dealing with someone that's like, being a dickhead the whole time. There's a game that I wasn't really in, but Sam was in.
Yeah,
and it was one of these people. The entire fucking time, he would try to describe a landscape or a person or try to do some role play. This dude would be like, say some shit joke constantly. Shit joke. Or just make some shit comment. Just do this.
Yeah, there's
a
time and a place for that. Yeah.
It was definitely funny when he pulled it off, right? But see, the thing was, I didn't even think he pulled it off right on purpose. He just did it so often that it just kind of fell into the right context.
Yeah, it's like, if you're flailing your arm around inside a barrel full of fish, occasionally you're going to catch something.
A broken clock is right twice a day.
Exactly. And yes, that is what it is at the end of the day.
Welcome to the 1600s.
Yeah. We who have broken clocks this time of existence. But yeah, so that's a fair thing.
I'm just saying, the sayings.
Yeah, I mean, naturally. I think this is something as well that I was thinking of last night, and you've reminded me of it. D&D is a conversation, right?
Yeah, it is. It's one big conversation.
Yeah, it's back and forth between the DM and the players. And you can either choose to be a respectful player, and as such a respectful conversationee, or you can choose to be disruptive and do the equivalent of, in the middle of the conversation, walking away, or, starting to make weird sounds, or, that sort of stuff. equivalents or analogs for disruptive players.
I feel like, as you said earlier, the player that had a soundboard.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I don't like that.
Yeah, and the thing is, that was a player that, because of how new he was and I hadn't actually met him in person, I wanted to keep him on Discord. I'm sure if I had invited him to my house that he wouldn't have used it, or I would have been like, hey, don't. But it is one of those sort of things where that it's like it's legitimately like being in a conversation with someone and just taking out a soundboard and playing sounds.
Yeah, it's pretty. A, it's cringe.
Yeah.
And B, it's just straight disrespectful. Like, imagine sitting there, you're trying to talk to someone, and then they just go, bruh, whenever you say some stupid shit.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel like it works in a real life.
Yeah, and the thing is, that's because it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. So, if it doesn't work in real life, guess where it doesn't work?
Yeah, exactly.
In fake life, D&D.
Yeah, and it's just a bummer. It's something where, I don't want to talk too much mad shit because, apparently I'm supposed to DM that game on Sunday. We'll see how that goes. But, it's still one of those things where Mastermind had to be like, hey, like Zach did write out like a list of rules, go and look at them, because clearly he hadn't already, otherwise he wouldn't have been using a soundboard.
Did you put an explicit rule?
Rule number 1 was don't use fucking soundboards. I specifically made it rule number 1 because I knew it.
This is a Far Cry 4 moment.
I don't know what that's in reference to.
You played Far Cry 4? Yeah, look, start.
The rule.
No, it goes, I said stop the bus.
Oh, yeah, I said stop the bus. Yeah.
I feel like I'm really missing whatever you guys are saying.
I think you are, yeah.
Yeah.
It's alright, it's all good. It's just Far Cry 4.
Okay, fair. Okay, but
That was probably one of my favourites. I haven't played the fifth one, but the
fifth one's good.
Yeah. Oh, I mean mechanically, or?
Yeah.
Fair.
I'd say all the mainline games.
And Blood Dragon. I was gonna say if you were about to say that Blood Dragon is not good,
yeah, I was gonna say
then who the fuck are you and what have you done with Chris?
All the mainline games, 3 onward.
Yeah.
I rate equally.
Okay, fair.
They're good. They're all good.
8 out of 8, perhaps.
Yeah.
People can be critics about it and be bitches. But
everyone's like, yeah.
Also,
Far Cry 3.
We also have brownies here that we're about to start cracking into, so I'm going to try and speak only, of course, when I've got a free mouth. But
it's pretty good though, how the microphone's set up. Yep. Unless you're ASMR close, I can't really hear you. True,
yeah. But I mean, that's the importance of projecting.
Do what you want.
Please don't destroy my audio quality. I mean, granted, I'm going to have to edit a lot of stuff. I put my effects on the editing afterwards, so that should be fine. But anyways, so if we are all good with our criteria, let's move on to the types of rewards that you can give certain players who are, worthy of said rewards. And off the top of our heads, or at least off the top of myself and Chris's heads who were writing this list, this is what we came up with. Of course, if you think of something else, feel free to do so. We are not going to give you an exclusive list and say, if you think of anything else, then fuck you. No, it's do whatever the fuck you want. You're a DM or a player, whatever. Deal with it.
That's actually a thing. Just I don't know if it's in general, just being not rewarding a player, but especially just as a DM tip, they're not. It's not like you're on you're not on rail tracks. You're not stuck on what has been paved by what are they, the Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
It's just a fuck. You can literally have never known D&D, and you'd play something very similar. Because all it is just like you create a world.
Roll dice to determine things.
Like in my campaigns, every single thing was tampered with. Like I threw mini bosses at you, like two goblins that were like a goblin that was 7 foot tall, nearly really lanky.
Yeah,
and he was just really stealthy and smart.
Yeah,
like you don't need
the Trapper, I believe his name was.
The Trapper. He was cool. He full friggin' munted Joe off the bat.
Yeah, that's I mean, I'm pretty sure he munted Joe, and then I proceeded to then beat the shit out of him with inflict wounds, but.
Yeah, you fucked him up.
Yeah, thank you, clerics.
Clerics are pretty freaking good.
Yeah, that was pretty good. But, that being said, at the end of the day, do whatever you want, but this is what we've got. So, of course, we can't talk about rewarding players without talking about the literal inbuilt mechanic for rewarding players for being creative that we never use, inspiration.
It's just hard to use, because, I mean, obviously, it has to be up to the player.
Yeah.
Like, you give them a point, and they'll be like, "Oh, I want to use it here."
I've never been a big fan of inspiration because it's so inconsistent.
Yeah, and the thing is, my main issue with it is I prefer to be consistent with my rewards, or at least I try to be as best as possible. So, if you do something creative one time, I might remember to give you inspiration. If you're not creative the next, or that sort of stuff. Hold tight. If there's one thing, I believe that's Stormbox PC, if there's one thing everyone can agree on about inspiration, is that everyone forgets to use it. That is absolutely
That's
true.
true.
Yep, definitely.
Like,
And thing is, I try to be consistent with it, but at the same time, I often forget to give it out. So by me being consistent about giving out an inspiration, my consistency is not doing it consistently. So
definitely rewarding players in terms of inspiration. I think inspiration could be like an instantaneous use thing. You do something really well, you'd be like, oh, you really chatted up that noble lady. You're going to get like a mad good buff on like.
Only thing is, we can do that instantaneously. It's called giving them advantage.
Yeah, so there you are. That's your inspiration. Because what's inspiration? I don't even know.
Inspiration is that you essentially are given a quote-unquote token, and it says basically whatever the fuck you want for, as like you have it. I don't believe it wears off until you use it. You have a single use of giving yourself advantage whenever you want. Yeah. That, of course, I believe rules out. So if you have disadvantage, you can cancel it out. All that sort of stuff.
Oh, that's pretty mad. Well, there you have it. I mean, all of our time playing it, we don't need inspiration because you give it when it's like...
If you guys do something and justify something smart happening, which generally I'll take it from me, I would like to believe, given we're all post-high school graduatees, some of us in university at this point, some of us having actual careers at this point, I'd like to think we're all a generally intelligent group. Of course, I say that knowing, you're all my friends, so naturally I'm going to say that. But you guys tend to think of smart things, and I try and say, if you have something good, if Wolfgang does something cool, or, he, has a moment of, story or something, and you can justifiably tell me what you intend to do and how you intend to do it, and you describe why you should have advantage, I'll give it to you, because I'm a generous DM often.
I'm a generous god.
Yes. So would I personally use inspiration? No. There was a style of inspiration in Mutants and Masterminds, which was going to be a possible second campaign style, pre-built, that I was considering using for the hero campaign, called Hero Points, where I believe you can essentially give yourself advantage or the equivalent. Oh, actually, correction, no, I think it's you use it to essentially give yourself a success. So changing from a fail to a success, or what you can do is essentially overrule something the DM says. That inherently is powerful, very powerful, especially if, the DM is trying to describe something important, and you as the player can just be like, oh, no, that doesn't happen. I'm spending a hero point. It's like, oh, okay, I guess it doesn't then, which is why I haven't implemented it. But I want to build a system that's similar to that. I think I was considering having it be a thing where you have a luck stat, so a 7th stat, where essentially instead of doing inspiration, you have maybe you can have an amount of times per arc or something. You can have just use just basically essentially give yourself inspiration. I think that would be interesting. It gives another stat, so that way when you're rolling stats, you have a wider array of things to put stats into. But that being said, that's all just me sitting there thinking about it and just coming up with random stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things you'd have to put on trial.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
There's another system that one of my mate Jack uses. Well, he's thinking of it, but it's fucked. Yep. It's essentially normal inspiration, but it's got tiers. I don't know what the system's called, but it's probably pretty popular because it's quite extensive. He's got a printout that he got when he found it, and it's just got so much in-depth stuff. So it kind of goes by the level of coins. You've got copper ones, which are pretty low tier. They give you a good boost, but and then they've got silver, gold, and then platinum.
Yep. And
he gave me an example of what would happen. So the way you roll it is, I want to give you an inspiration point. I'll roll a d20. If you get a 19 or 20, you get platinum.
Yeah.
And what the platinums do, and then you roll another d20, and then you go get one from the chart.
Yeah.
And one of the thingos is called Ascension.
Bloody hell, so you just become a god.
Oh, no, you just level up once.
Oh, that's pretty solid.
Imagine you're midway through a battle, you're we're probably actually going to get munted here. If we don't have any plot armor, we're going to die.
Yeah.
play my Ascension card, everyone gets a level up, and then you spend another 3 hours because everyone's going through all their shit archetype features.
Yeah,
And
I
then
mean,
the battle takes like 10 hours when it should take 2.
I mean, to be fair, that goes back to what we were saying last session as a beginner player. And Chris, I'm going to pass this to you to recite, but
Yeah.
do you know specifically the rule that I'm referencing?
Yeah, just read what you're going to get in
Yeah,
the next level.
prepare for what you're leveling up. Always be ready to level up, basically.
Yeah.
So that way,
Don't just
instead
sit
of
there being like, what am I going to do?
yeah, so it takes 2 minutes instead of
Yeah.
20, sort of thing.
Look at what you're going to get. If you're going to get new spells, have a look at what you want.
Yeah, always be
It's
ready to
good just
level up.
plan ahead because I have a wizard in the game I play, and she just sits there for ages going through.
Oh, you've told me about this as well. Isn't this the wizard that uses only one spell?
So they nearly exclusively use polymorph
Polymorph, yeah.
because we did have a little bit of a starvation of front end damage
Yeah,
dealers.
that's fair.
So they were like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna get fucked." Yeah, because I'm a wizard, the DM always goes for the wizard because you can deal massive damage.
If it's if it's an intelligent enemy, they're going to go for the wizard. Yeah, absolutely.
So
That's why you make the wizard look like a paladin.
bada bing. But yeah, so and then like they level up and they're like, yes. And we continued the game.
Yeah.
While she was still choosing her things.
As you
because-
generally should, yeah, I'd say.
Because and we were all done.
Yeah.
And she was still there, going through like a million different spells.
I mean, what level spells was she looking at?
I don't know, we're currently level 11 characters.
So you're probably talking maybe level 4 or 5 spells. Yeah, don't get me wrong. There's good level 4 and 5 spells. Shouldn't take you 20 hours.
Like, because I'm playing a warlock, I've already thought about what spells I'm going to get when I level up next time.
Yeah, I mean, we've already discussed this at length.
I've had a good look at all the different spells I want.
Yep.
And I know what I'm getting. I know what spells are good. I've read through the descriptions. I know what matches my character.
Yeah, and that's the important thing, is matching your character with the spells you get.
Yeah. So, level up, bada bing, just going to chuck in the spells I know I want.
The one I think it's called is Soul Trap, yes, is the one that you're liking.
That's when I level up next time. So I'll be even more.
Yeah, so you've got like the
Ooh.
plan sort of thing.
I've got a plan. Because Soul Trap is actually that fucking good.
Yeah.
As a warlock, you can get Soul Trap to cast once a day. You cast it as a reaction, no concentration, 8-hour duration.
Ooh.
And you can just heal from it, get information, get advantage, all this cool stuff.
That's a pretty good bloody spell.
Yeah.
It's like a 6th level spell.
That being said, also, actually, that is a comment I'll quickly make on the side. It's more of a meta comment. So I was considering, and I was talking to one of the boys, and he suggested for the podcast that we go through and spend time talking about each class and our opinions on said classes. If you wish, we can start that sometime soon. I just felt this one was more applicable.
I can easily go on a tangent. So
It's all good.
Stick
Yeah.
to
The script, yeah.
the criteria.
I mean, it's no biggie. We can go on tangents. We went on a
Tangent's
big one
good.
last time.
Fucking went tangential the entire fucking time.
Yeah,
Tangential.
we usually try and go for 2 hours. We did 3 last time, just going on
really?
tangents.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, it's chill. I'm not really too worried about it. All things considered, I would be surprised if this podcast was the thing that people were using to learn how to play D&D. Because, I mean, granted, it's built for that, but it's us essentially sitting around talking about D&D and what our opinions are on certain things. But I would say if you want to learn how to play D&D, watch widely, listen to the podcast, sure, but there's plenty of other YouTubers and videos that you can watch that are actually capable of putting quite a lot of time into this. Whereas, you Matt, have a 9 to 5. Chris, you're currently working casual, I believe, yes?
Yeah.
And I'm currently a university student. I don't have a spare 40 hours a week to put into D&D. Like, I stream, I do university assignments. There are people who do actually have that time to do stuff like that, and they can probably give a bit more better notes on certain things. But at the moment, I'm just doing it as like a side thing of like, oh, I want to talk about D&D. Let's put a rough topic up. If we go on a tangent, it's no biggie, but it is what it is. That being said, I also, since technically my YouTube channel for this is a VOD channel, I don't really edit the stuff. It's more of fix up the audio, make sure it should be good, but also I don't have the spare 3 hours to watch back through it to make sure it's good. So, bada bing, bada boom. Fix the audio, let it do its thing. I've got a bit of software that does it for me, and then it should be right. But either way, that's the whole thing. That being said, that's a tangent that we've gone on. If we're done with inspiration, which I would be surprised if we weren't, we can move on to talking about the next type of reward, which is something that we don't actually really ever use.
Well, occasionally. So
Occasionally.
it depends on what type of game you're doing. You can't
True.
really do this in a milestone game.
Yes.
But XP,
XP and levels,
yeah,
specifically.
so if you're doing an XP ran game, then definitely a good reward.
Yes, absolutely. It's pretty standard. And thing is, as well, this doesn't only go for combat. You can reward combat, sure, but experience can be given out for, just having democracy, talking to NPCs without being forced to initiate a combat encounter. You can talk and you can achieve things, and you should be rewarded for achieving things in democratic stuff.
Something in another campaign I do.
Mhm.
You don't need to defeat the enemy to get XP.
Yes.
Like there was an encounter. We didn't exactly win.
Yeah.
Like both combatants.
Yeah.
Left mostly alive.
Yes.
And we still got XP for it.
Yeah, that's fair. It's triumphing. It's because experience at the end of the day is experience, right? You experience something. As such, you've grown from experiencing something. I realized inherently me saying that we didn't use experience is actually kind of kidding, or not kidding, but fooling myself, because for our 2-year campaign, we ended up using experience as our reward mechanism, right?
Yeah.
When you guys did something or you completed a big mission, I would say to you guys, okay, you have 1,000 experience, and granted, we reworked the experience system, but have 1,000 experience. I would say it's more like to Fable, where you can choose what you want to level up, and saying, okay, here you go, Wolfgang, you have 1,500 experience, or you gained 1,500, you now have 4,000 in total, do you want to level up one of your abilities? And then you were able to say yes, no, maybe, whatever, and we'll talk about that, see what you would gain, get health, get all this and that, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we used it as a currency.
Yeah,
pretty
almost,
much.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I have saved up enough money to be able to, bulk buy levels and something.
Yeah, pretty much, and that's...
Yeah.
Granted, at the same time as well, there was actually, saying it was like a currency is actually probably very accurate, because I also did say, I made a bunch of things that you could theoretically buy in quotations, to give you advantage, to give you, in the moment you could spend 1,000 experience and be able to guarantee you succeeded on a roll. Granted, of course, I needed to up those prices, because by the end of it, you were casually just sitting there with a couple thousand. And I think one of you said to me in the final fight, oh yeah, I could just guarantee that I essentially have a crit on the next 8 rolls that I can do. Mm-hmm. And I was like, maybe don't do that.
I don't need it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Canium, Chris's character, did not need the crits. Like, you pulverized the
plus
final enemy.
19 to hit.
Yep.
Yeah. That was
what we call bills.
Yeah. Granted, should have probably balanced that. But as we were reaching the end of the campaign, I kind of sat down and was like, do I balance it, or do I just let it ride out until the end?
I think the idea of the item that you gave me was that,
because it gave you double proficiency on unarmed.
It's unarmed, so you're not going to be doing that much damage.
Yeah.
So the higher chance to hit makes it a bit more fair.
Except since you had a superpower that gave you super strength, you were doing quite a lot of damage.
I was built for unarmed.
Yeah, and of course, naturally, I saw it and I was like, that fits Canium, but I don't know whether to say I regret it, but it was something I should have balanced.
I reckon it was definitely just a major chore for you trying to figure out what to throw at us, because it's like, oh, I throw a massive tank. I'll melt the tank.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, I'll throw the tank. Or some shit, It's like, oh, okay. I throw a plane at you, like a massive bomber. Astro, I pull the plane to the ground, and then I'll be like, I can use a missile.
I punch the plane.
You jump.
You grab it and you throw the plane. Yeah, that's true. And the thing is, I realized quite late in, and I think, program, what's this? Program, what's this in reference to? Also, thanks for following. we are talking about specifically a. Oh, do you mean the background? That's Incarnate. It's incarnate.com. It's what we use for making maps and such. That's all good. It's a brilliant program. I personally don't have the premium version, but even still, there's quite a lot of stuff that you can do on the free version. But it's really good. That being said, yeah, I realized, and I think you might have noticed when I realized, specifically it was when, so I gave Wolfgang, you had the superpower to shoot thermite out of your hands.
And that was like my first, that was my first one.
It was your first quirk, or your first superpower, and there was a point about a year into the campaign where I realized, oh, thermite's really, really hot.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really, really hot.
I should have educated you on it, because I thought you knew it.
Well, I think I did know it, but I didn't perceive it in total. Also, hang on, Chris, pass that to me. I'll just throw it in there. A couple coat hangers.
You didn't perceive quite how hot it is.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's like what, 4,000? Yeah, it's like 4,000. True. It was. Yeah, it was.
Hot.
Yeah, it was like 4,000 degrees Celsius. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
it was like instant. It's the reaction of instantaneously bringing iron to the melting point.
That shit can melt tungsten.
Yeah, and the thing is, I didn't realize that. Like, 4,000 degrees, it's like, oh, that's hot. But but you also think like, oh, fire is hot as well.
Fire's really, really hot as well.
Fire
Yeah.
is like
1,500, I
well,
believe.
as low as like 800.
Yeah.
Sort of shit.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something
As
that
low as
I.
600, 400. It's not that hot on the low range.
Yeah, there was a point where I had an enemy, or I had a classmate being NPC, they were in a university setting, who used clay, specifically.
Oh, him?
I believe his name was Clayton or something.
Oh.
I don't
Right.
specifically recall. I have
I remember
have the list of... actually, I've got the whole thing of character sheets up there.
Oh, shit.
But he used some of his clay because I matched you two up because I'm like, oh, you probably can't thermite through clay. We googled it. You very much could thermite through clay. You fucking decimated him because there was literally nothing he could have done to stop you.
I'd be like, oh, wow, you're like, made out of something that doesn't really burn?
Your latent blood temperature was enough to burn through clay, I would say.
Like, this is why I like a setting that's not really based in reality.
Yeah.
So you can't just Google something and be like, oh, look at this.
Yeah, and to be
so
fair...
that's why I think that's what it ended up happening with my power, though. It just became my thermite. So it was like, it burnt hot sometimes if I rolled really well, but it'd be generally mild.
Yeah, it was like spicy sauce.
Spicy. Yes.
Yeah, though there was a point pretty early in the campaign that I was actually discussing with Astro the other day, where there was a point where I really needed to make up a material that you theoretically couldn't burn through. And I think you know exactly what I'm referring to. The combination of stone and steel.
Stole.
S-T-O-L-O-O-L, I think it was. Or S-T-O-O-L-E.
Shit, hang on, let me see if I've got something in my old.
Yeah, because you had the sword made of stole later on.
Yeah, I did. Oh, it wasn't. Oh.
Yeah, I think you did. Or like a hammer or something.
No, it
No,
was a sword, specifically, because you were able to shoot your flames
if
into
the
it.
stole was in the sword and I broke it out.
No, so the way that was intended, and this brings us into the next thing of items, is as a reward. You had a sword that essentially the blade. So I think like you have the handle and you've got the guard, and the blade was made out of stole. The inner bit of the blade had actually broken out, so you could shoot your flames through it.
Yeah, I called it the Muss sword.
Yeah, because you got it from
Big Muss.
Big Muss, yeah. Because we went on the whole thing of going after Big Muss died, going to his house, and you found
Looting
that.
it.
Well, you found like a will in quotations, like a note saying like, "Hey, like Wolfgang Tanium Astro et al. Here is a handful of things that I have gotten for you. I believe that you are to take my place. Here you go." And that's sort of what it became, right?
I
to
didn't
some
even
degree.
use any stole weaponry.
Yeah, you used your fists.
I used my mitts.
I mean, I'm
Mitch
sure
broke through
you
stole probably.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you had a high sleight of hand, you could probably have stolen plenty of things, but I'm dead inside.
I'm just gonna commit honorable Sudoku right now.
Yeah. But but that being said, items, of course, is such an easy way. Items are specifically money. Two very easy ways Hang on, what's that? So we're all having a couple of drinks, sitting around with the boys. What was that? Send It Down, Huey. Interesting.
Yeah, Aussie Pale Lager.
Yes. So of course, that's a spicy crack.
That was
good crack.
very, very pressurized.
That was a good crack.
Yes.
Well, it's not cold.
Of course, yes.
The
It's
way I
sitting
like
out here
my
on my
beer.
table. Yeah.
The way I like my
I
beer.
like my piss hot.
I like warm beer. Change my mind.
Okay. Well, that's the other thing. Quick tangent. Cold beer, actually, you can't taste as much of it.
Exactly. That's why I like warm beer.
Yes. Anyways,
Any beer can taste good cold.
yeah, that's true. Plus with lime and stuff.
Yeah, lime and... I was going to say lime and shit, but that kind of makes it sound like lime's bad. Lime is not bad.
Lime is good, yeah.
Lime's good.
So is lemon.
I prefer lime.
Fair. Anyways, items and money. You do well, you get paid. Get laid, get paid, Gatorade. You know how it is.
As they say.
As they say, indeed.
In the biz.
In the
In the
business.
business.
Yeah. Of course, as we got longer into the campaign, I wanted to keep rewarding you guys with cool items. There was quite a while where I wasn't sure what to do, and I started pulling from some random online lists and trying to configure them.
Yeah, I remember I got the cape of the manta
Yeah,
ray.
yeah, the fire character got the Cape of the Manta Ray, which doubles your speed underwater.
Bloody brilliant.
Yeah, the
Nice.
character who's constantly on fire.
What I loved about that was we did use it. When
Yeah.
we went to that underwater facility, I just went thunk and sunk to the ground because I was very ferrous. So I
Oh,
just-
that was way before you got the Manta Ray thing. That was
Yeah, I think
right
it
at
was,
the
yeah.
That's right. No,
yeah.
I remember I said I heated myself up enough that I could breathe
Yeah.
around me. Oh no, my constitution was really good.
Oh
so I
yeah,
just held my
you
breath
could have
for it.
just been but because you were made of metal and essentially fire, you just sunk to the bottom of the ocean and walked across.
I think I had pretty good con as well, so I was just like...
I think you did the same actually.
Yeah, just...
You just
screwed,
crystallized
like,
up.
the old deep divers and stuff, how they just had the big, heavy suits.
Yeah, I mean you were essentially Diamond Head from Ben 10. Essentially, was your
Chroma
character.
Stone.
Yeah, I mean you evolved into Chroma Stone later. No, that would have been what had happened later on if you had gained some form of light power.
Yeah.
But that didn't end up happening. Regardless, I'm sure in the future out of the campaign that probably happened.
Because we could just steal friggin'
Well,
powers.
technically you guys couldn't, but others could and give them to you if you paid them. Or
Oh, is
you
that
gave
how it
them.
worked?
Yeah, because you didn't have the ability to, but some
We
of
knew
the
a
other
guy.
people... Yeah, you guys knew a guy. Technically if Canium's family went along the right way and didn't go full, like, golden shining hero sort of status, they could have done the same.
Oh.
But you end up meeting other people of the Descendants, i.e. Red Guy, or Ruby Dude, and also Void Opal Dude, Evil Mus.
What's his name again? Ridley.
Ridley, that's the one, yeah.
Red Lizzle.
You know
Red
the
Lizzle.
technically
Oh.
the full title of the campaign actually I believe was like the Ridley's Creed or some shit.
Ooh.
Granted, I never actually explained that or like mentioned it.
Yeah, you
but...
never said it was Ridley's Creed.
Wait, hang on. I've got I think here.
Ooh.
This is my big
He's got
black
a supplement.
book.
Got the book.
The book.
The Retribution of Ridley Della Rosa.
Oh wow.
I actually wrote it here on the first page.
It's funny, I've never-
And also the proper pronunciation of Città Tora, or it's Città Tarota. I named the main city that you guys stayed in a word that I then months later would forget how to pronounce.
Let me have a look at it. Fucking,
Città Tarota.
where is it?
It's on the left page.
Left page?
Yep.
Città Tarota.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, if I read this, I'd be like, oh yeah, Città Tarota.
Yeah.
I'd-
Which the thing is, you
I'd
didn't
get
read
that
it
down.
though because it was my DM notes that I
Yeah.
proceeded to not read myself. So,
I love
yeah.
how we just ended up calling that Città Tora.
Yeah. Well,
I
because
mean, it sounded. It was easy. It rolls off the tongue.
well,
but
it's Siddhartha
Rota.
Rota.
Yeah, Città Rota.
Yes, and then Siddhartha Rota. Regardless, I regret naming it that.
Oh,
Needless
also,
to say.
Off topic, but I got inspiration for a better map for my campaign.
Are you rolling advantage? Make sure you do.
So, idea for the map.
Yep.
I saw a world map
Yes.
made by the Romans.
Oh,
Fair.
And,
The Romans who believed that the world was flat.
no, they knew the world was...
this is after that whole period, right?
They called it, like, in globus or some shit.
Wasn't there some whole thing of the Romans thinking that there was, like, because I remember we were talking about the history of Australia and you said that there was
Yeah, the Romans knew that the world was a globe,
Oh, okay.
but they thought that because there's all this land that they know of up north, they thought there has to be land to the south to balance it out.
Right, okay, fair.
That's cool.
When you sent that
How
message,
it works, but they got the right idea.
Yeah,
when
they
you
got the right
mentioned
idea.
it in the chat, I thought you were saying that it was a flat world and they needed something on top and something on bottom, but
Well,
it's what it was.
bottom. We're just on the bottom, like
Bottom tier of society.
We're
Australians.
on the bottom side of the world, which is flat.
Yes, of course, yes,
Right?
absolutely.
That Roman math
I'll have you know the world is
perfect
actually
for
a.
what I wanted.
I'll have you know the world is actually a cube. Fight me.
Fight me!
Because it's got oceans where I want them. It goes as far as I want the map to go.
Yeah.
Like, because I was thinking, like, you know, kind of like Italy in the middle, kind of like a peninsula that comes out into the ocean.
Yep.
You know, obviously they wrote Italy in the middle of the map.
Mm.
And then,
Yep.
because they didn't
That
do
does make
much
sense, yeah.
exploring into Africa, the map just ends at Africa.
Fair.
And then they just assume that there's an ocean where Asia is. And it just all works perfectly.
I just had a thought, right? What if instead of them being in Italy, they were in Australia? Would that mean that instead of having essentially the poles being at the north and south, that we would have had it where everything's shifted upwards, so the poles are in the middle instead of the equator? Because our perception would be different, right?
What do you mean?
Like, assume, that they were able to travel past and they end up basically going around the bottom of the world, and instead of having ice at the top and bottom and the equator in the middle, essentially just shift it upwards, so the equator is at the top and ice is at the bottom in the
So
middle.
you're saying like a temperate zone to the north and south?
Well,
pole?
essentially, just think of it like a map and just shift it upwards and take the top
Well,
and
man,
move it to the
here's
bottom.
the Earth, here's the poles. Europe.
Yeah.
So I don't think that would have come into being anyway, because they would have used compasses or that weighs up or something.
True.
Magnetism.
Yeah.
That's why the whole
They really
thing.
used magnets back then for the compass.
How the
No,
fuck do they work?
Compasses.
I'll give you a company. I mean, what?
So they. So at least what the Vikings did.
Rails grumbling.
At least what the Vikings did was they used the sun on a. They had a bucket, and they'd put like a floating thing in it, so it stays level.
Yes.
And it's kind of like a sundial,
Yes.
but instead of the shadow pointing to what time it is, at roughly midday, they'd have all these circles around the middle bit that sticks up. Where the shadow touches is their longitude.
Fair.
Or, it tells them what their longitude is.
Right, I'm guessing this is while they're on their boats.
Yeah, while they're on their boats.
Yep.
So if they just keep that longitude, then they can tell that they are going
In the right
east
direction.
or west.
Right.
That's fair.
But yeah, see, I'm not going to delve into how they made that shit work, because those bastards made alloys before we realised what alloys were.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm,
how
yes.
insane were they?
Big brain moment.
Magic
Yeah, 'cause-
steel, because
yeah.
they throw bones in it. It's
Yeah,
like, no,
exactly.
that's
It's the
actually
carbonization, I believe.
Yeah, they made
Or calcification.
Well, I mean,
rather.
they just added it. There's carbon and calcium in bones.
Yeah.
Throw them in. They
The
made some
steel that we
rudimentary
robbed from the Sri Lankans is really, really fucking good.
Fair. But yeah, regardless. Anyways, we've kind of gone off topic,
That
but
is a tangent and a half.
it is a massive tangent. Regardless,
Viking swords.
yes. Regardless, items and money. Always good standard things. You open a chest in the middle of a dungeon. What do you find? Gems,
Mimic.
teeth, and money, and a mimic while you're at it. Yep. And also maybe a cursed enchanted sword.
Hell yeah.
Make sure you get Curse of Binding. That's a good one. That's a Minecraft joke, of course.
Oh,
yeah. But okay, next one. Pretty standard. I believe this is actually something that is encouraged in Dragon Heist is the one. You actually can obtain property, and this is something that you guys in my campaign started out with, right?
Yeah.
Because your character, Matt/Wolfgang, had
That
you
gang.
because we had started off by fully building your character to have a decent family relationship with everyone, and your mother was the number 5 hero or something. You end up having a nice mansion basically in the middle of off to the farm area of Siddhartha. Yeah, just have a stroke while I'm saying it, don't worry about it.
Cool DM tip. Name your city A pronounceable name.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
DM tips with the boys. Yeah. But yeah, naturally, you guys started off with property already. Originally, and this comes into the whole idea of making a hub, a world hub. I originally intended the university that you guys were at to be a world hub, but then I couldn't be fucked to design the university at the time, and it felt much more personal for it to be your character's house. Though it didn't really make sense at the start because it was like, oh, hey, Canium and Astro, I know you live at these places, so that way you can go to school here, but come live with me. And then you basically had that happen for every character.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, at the end of the day, I had no issues with.
You
Because
just come home, new character that we met along the way.
Yeah, hi mum, this person's working.
Okay.
Yeah, hi dad, hi mum, these guys are living with us now, I've abducted
who are
them.
you and what are you doing in my house? Oh yeah, your son told me to come by.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
You're literally just a mature aged man that smells like his own feces.
I mean, yeah, you did.
Son, just let me in.
Yeah, you did actually do that at one point.
Yeah, I think that was when I was away for a round game because I don't remember.
No, it was so that was when you found the ruby gem dude who gave you some powers.
Yeah, see, I was away.
Oh, you were okay, fair.
So,
But essentially, the boys were like, "Oh, this person," because he'd been tortured and everything.
sausage.
And the boys were like, "Oh, we're heroes. We need to rescue him." And I was like,
We
"Okay."
rescue him and take him to the.
It took him to your house.
Wow.
Can we keep him?
Can we keep him? Shut the. I'll burn you.
Wait, what happened to Dogmoss? Wasn't that Astro that had Dogmoss?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure I
He
ate it.
remained home.
Yeah,
We
very
just kept the dog.
yeah, you guys bought a dog and were like, okay, cool, let's just leave him back at the mansion. Your dad was just like, alright, it looks like it's always coming down to me to look after the pets. Damn.
Well, we did have that other pet, the man, to play with the dog, so it was all good, right?
Yeah, pretty
Let's
much.
play with each other.
Speaking of having pets that are people, social standing is another thing you can
You
obtain.
can acquire slaves.
We got so high up in the social standing, in the social picking order, that we had slaves.
Alright now, Fumi, chill it out, Jesus. But, but as a pretty standard thing, when you, as you do good things, you can gain renown. This is probably not too applicable if you're doing an evil campaign, but in a campaign where you're playing as heroes, naturally you've got to be well known. And as you progress through the story, a good reward is to, and this is something that I should have probably done a lot sooner, but have characters actually come up and be like, hey, it's Wolfgang and the crew. Sup?
Wolfgang and others.
Here is gift. It's like a little plate of metal that they've inscribed Wolfgang plus others, or Wolfgang et al. Gives it to you. Yeah, there we go. Bada bing.
Wolfgang and Co.
And everyone wonders why you were named the protagonist. No,
That was a classic. Oh.
it was a fucking spicy meme. Like, I enjoyed that.
I
It was
should have
good.
made that body in that one time.
I think I know the graveyard.
Yeah, cataclysm happened and I love that. Oh yes, we have a city built in a hole underneath a mountain.
Yeah, and then an earthquake happens. Boom, crush, everyone's dead.
Squished.
Oh shit, oh fuck. 2 people survived out of that entire town.
That was a Brahma. But
Yeah.
there was a lot of fresh loot there that we didn't really get.
Yeah, it's because it was one of those things where if the campaign had continued, that would have been the starting point for you guys properly being known heroes, I would say.
Yeah.
Because you were involved in the cataclysm. It was proved that you were innocent. Innocent in quotations, of course, because technically you were still a part of it.
Yes.
But and then you guys end up helping out people, and so it was a whole thing that was good. That's sort of how we showed social standing. We didn't really necessarily. I didn't, as a DM, make it as obvious as I should have. Looking back on that, I've come to that realization. Regardless, it is what it is at the end of the day. But the next thing, of course, is something that sort of inherently gets increased as you go on anyways, but something that you can definitely benefit is stat increases. If you're doing something consistently really well, as the DM, I might say, oh, add 1 to strength, or add 1 to dex, or something. Something like that. General stuff. It's one that I don't particularly do too often, because it's tricky to not make it overpowered.
Something that I enjoy.
Yep.
For example, if you were like reading through a wizard's library or something, and you stumble across a certain book.
Yep.
You might get +1 Arcana or something like that.
Yeah, stuff like that. I very much enjoy that stuff.
It's like a little +1 to like your stats.
Yeah.
I feel like people don't do that enough, and it's something I quite enjoy.
Yeah.
I feel definitely from experience, I feel that those stats are buildable in that manner, because you don't build them unless you build your bigger stats. But why do you need to have? Why are you forced to build your bigger stats in order to make your smaller stats? Because if you don't have proficiency and you don't have a good score, you're shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can be like, oh, I'm not really smart, but I am really good at magic or something. Like I have a knack for it a little bit. So you have a bit extra to Arcana.
Like, oh yeah, I'm good at medicine, but I'm not too good at other stuff.
Yeah, and I can almost guarantee that I can guess at least where you might have gotten that idea from. Skyrim. Reading books to get stats.
No, but
okay.
I just think it's a good idea.
That's fair.
Find a book, bada bing, bada boom. You got a stat.
He said wizard's thing with Arcana. So like a picture, it's like, oh yeah, deepen your knowledge of Arcana.
True.
And then you read it, and it's like, wow. And then it's like, oh, you step up to a master blacksmith or something, and then all of a sudden you're. Actually, that's not a really good.
Are you thinking of how if you trade, I think your speech goes up?
No. No. It's like you experience things that might be so good. Maybe it's like
it like awakens you to certain things.
It's like say you're pretty good at gymnastics or something, acrobatics. So you got a +2.
Yeah.
You got good dex or something, and you got +2, and then you see like a gymnast or something yeeting around. You're like, oh wow, that's how the footwork. You might gain one.
Yeah, that's fair.
But that was why it'd be a reward, because it'd be like, well, you did really well here, so I'm going to give you +1 to one of your basic stats.
Yeah, and that is not only, and this kind of goes down to, we have this as like +1 to checks and stuff later, but I suppose we can cover it now. Is you can decide whether that's a permanent or a temporary buff as well. Like it inherently, like you watch someone, and for the next couple of days you have a +1 in acrobatics, perhaps, etc. Or if you do something a bit more high tier, I would say, you could have it be a permanent buff. At the end of the day, it's up to DM's discretion, really, because you got to be careful handing out benefits like that too much.
It's like in Kingdom Come Deliverance. If you fuck a woman, you get the alpha male perk for like 24 hours the next day or some shit. Yeah, 24 hours after. And you get like extra intimidation versus males. You get blah blah blah.
That's called big dick energy.
Not it.
You get post-nut clarity. It reminds me of in Bullworth Academy or whatever it's called. It goes by.
I played that
when you kiss a girl, you get your max health up
Hey,
temporarily.
That's mad.
Yeah, I was watching Reign of Horus Jr. play it recently, and I was like, that's pretty spicy.
Oh, that's what that's what you like. Do stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, ooh, you I don't know, you met a soothsayer or something, so you get like a +1 to persuasion.
Yeah, or you're told you go and get your fortune read. You're told that someone might attempt to lie to you, and you're given a rough description. If anyone who meets that description might be a blonde character or something, you have +1 insight against them, for example. All stuff like that. At the end of the day, it's all debatable. But then naturally moving on. This also goes into something that they did in a podcast that I very much enjoyed. They gave the option to multi-class. And this is more of a story-based thing, I would say, generally. But if you're playing a campaign where, say, for example, you've got your group of like a fighter, a wizard, a cleric, a paladin or something, you might be, and the fighter is, is getting along with a certain NPC, they might be interested in training that person in their off time to have a level of, like, rogue or whatever, essentially. At the end of the day, that all comes down to story and specifics of what you're trying to do. We didn't really implement that in our previous campaign. That's fine, though, because that didn't really make sense, given that your classes were your powers. And there was only really, one person or a couple of people who could help you in improving your powers in specific ways. Of course, if you are someone who can shoot flames and someone who can shoot ice comes up to you, they could still give you some pointers because it's still, the same motions or whatever. Yeah, it's just, oh, maybe try and aim your hand up a bit, for example, if you're shooting flames, sort of stuff. Be Bowser in Smash Ultimate and aim your flame upwards, so that way you, instead of knocking them out, you follow them up, sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But that's all, situational. Advantage, of course, is pretty standard. Give advantage if players do good stuff.
Yeah.
I do that all the time. I feel like that's
Also,
common. Yep.
If the context allows it.
Yes, if the context allows it. Yes,
I
definitely.
feel like that's a big thing that, DM should take into consideration.
Yep.
If the context allows it, give your players advantage.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't
do it too often so it breaks it, is the main thing.
Don't break it. Keep it balanced. I like consistency.
Yeah, definitely.
For example, in the other campaign I'm doing.
Yep.
I went into gas form.
Yep.
And I got advantage on stealth for moving around.
Yeah, because that makes sense, right?
It doesn't say that you get advantage on stealth. It's just a,
You're a gas.
because I'm not making any noise.
You've cut the noise out and your shape is dispersed.
Yeah.
So you look at it logically, you'd be like, well, you're essentially wearing a muffled ghillie suit if you're in gaseous form, so of course you'd be pretty good at stealth after that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's that stuff. Move on to information on weaknesses and benefits. So this is something that I was mentioning from Monster of the Week, which is another campaign style that we actually played, Matt, myself, you, and Sam at one point for one singular session.
Singular session. And here I am, hyping up the character we're going to make it.
Oh, we had a fun thing. We built fun characters. The session itself was sort of like, oh, okay, sure. Yeah, I'm not particularly too.
I feel like it just was executed shittily.
Well,
I have a lot of, I can see that system working really well.
Yeah, if it's done right. And the thing is, I really do actually want to do a story like that at some point. I think that's probably that might actually be my next game for the boys. Actually, now that I think about it, a proper Monster of the Week system that could be cool. Regardless, in that system, the whole thing is about you spend time before the hunt gathering information, gathering what the weakness is for the monster.
Yeah.
And then you can use that for benefits when you're actually fighting the monster. It might be that they're immune to certain things, it might be that they're vulnerable to certain things, and by using those certain information bits, you can essentially move along and do what you need to do. It is what it is at the end of the day. If we don't have anything to add on that, NPC assistance. As you talk to NPCs, you might be able to rally certain NPCs towards your cause. It's pretty standard. In my campaign, you had the girls, the three of them, who were sort of designed to be your counterparts to some degree. You were able to basically hang out with them. I think they tried to help you in a couple of situations, but granted, they were supposed to be you guys were out doing physical, actually doing stuff, and they were learning the theory behind doing stuff, so that didn't really show as well, but in a circumstance where you had to rescue someone, for example, they would have known all the safety procedures, they would have known all this and that sort of stuff, so it would have complemented your style pretty well. I think in my in the preparation I was going to do for a sequel series, I think I described it that those three girls, I'm guessing you guys ended up, if I recall correctly, you had your own hero corporation or hero firm, and those girls ended up working with you guys as different other agents. Because frankly, I think that's just the decisions that, at least when I was talking to you, that was what you were saying. I don't think I really talked to anyone else about that, but I feel like it's kind of a general, accepted thing.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it didn't really make a difference anyways. But yeah, so NPC assistance, you talk to the king, you get access to his army, that sort of stuff. And then the final one that I added lastly to this, after I'd written out the punishing players list, feeding into a character's background, right? If a character has a certain list of things that they have or they want to achieve for their character's background, actually giving plot hooks to get into that sort of stuff whenever you're ready can be really rewarding as well. At the end of the day, it's all at the DM's pace, but, it is what it is. I try to always, in my campaigns, especially the 2-year one, try to ensure that the players have a possibility of getting into their background. There's been times when Kanium, for example, has the ability to go and talk to his parents at the time, because that was the whole thing that
Not
happened.
parents at the time, they were the
They
parents.
were your. Well, I was talking more.
He was going between parents at that stage.
Yeah, no.
My parents of that time.
I was more referring to
Current
parents. You were in that moment able to talk to your parents, but yes. And then, I mean, your background, you kind of consistently had access to be able to hang out with your parents, given that was sort of the whole situation. But Astro, I gave him plot hooks if he wanted to go to them. He, of course, decided
Never
for his
did.
character. Well, no, to be fair, he decided for his character he didn't want to.
Yeah, my parents just didn't like me.
Yeah, that's also because you like burned down an orphanage or some shit.
I don't know what I did.
Oh no, it's some
Burned
Down
down
in the
an
family.
yeah. You did the whole thing of sometime before the campaign started, you were disowned essentially. I mean, what the reason particularly was, we never really discussed, but it was in the air somewhere. Likewise, immediately when Sam joined, because Sam was like, "Oh, I've just got a good home life," I immediately made villains kidnap his parents. And that was to get him into the whole wanting to properly actually be a part of the hero thing. You know, if you witness villainy firsthand, of course you're going to want to be a hero, most likely, unless you're like Anakin Skywalker.
Master
I am
Skywalker.
The Senate.
Master Skywalker, there's too many of them. What we're going to do? Get whacked!
Yes, but yeah, that's the whole thing. But
Tuned in halfway.
that's all good. That being said, I just realised that my notes actually go down to the next page. That's fine.
Nice.
But we also have the section of punishing players.
My favourite.
Yeah, so
Cock and ball torch.
yeah, so inadvertently, most of the criteria for punishing players are the inverse of the criteria for rewarding players. You know, not paying attention, being disruptive, power building characters for the sake of power building, being just a pain to deal with is kind of not really fun, and just generally breaking rules. All that sort of stuff that typically comes with, the idea of a bad player. Luckily, we've only really had to deal with one individual who was sort of disruptive to some degree, and granted, that was more because, well, he power built in another campaign we played in. He played a Warlock Sorcerer combo.
Oh, is this
Yeah, that one.
Mm.
And when he joined my campaign, he sort of just didn't fit the vibe that we were going for. All of your characters were very offensive in terms of doing damage, all that sort of stuff type characters. And he came in with a support character who, oh, my background is that my parents are all dead, and, blah, 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 typical
My
bad
parents
stuff.
are dead. My name is Sharks.
Yeah.
My name is... What's your real name?
What do you mean?
I don't have a real name.
Yeah, I was watching a
It's
video.
been so long since anyone said it.
Yeah, I was watching a video. Oh, hang on, Ghosts of Game Future. How's it going? Why didn't they name Padme's son Luke Amidala? That would have made quite a bit of sense. Yeah, actually, that's fair.
Why didn't they? Because they what's the word? Overlooked the opportunity.
I mean, well, because thing is, what
Or maybe they just
Vader?
ignored it. And they were just
Because essentially,
assholes.
Vader busted a nut and then dipped, or Anakin rather busted a nut and dipped. So it
Nut
was
and run.
specifically Senator Amidala who raised Luke, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
So,
Yeah, that's
Amidala
true.
died. Oh, what's going on?
Skywalker is so cool of a name that Padme wanted it. That's fair. Yeah, I mean,
So,
fair. Yeah.
Yeah, so when Princess Amidala died,
Yep.
So Luke and Leia were split up.
Yes.
Leia being handed to the Organas,
Right. Okay.
who lived on Alderaan.
Yep.
And Luke being given to Anakin's cousin,
Right. Who lived on the pod
who
racing
lived back
place?
on Tatooine.
Yeah, that's the one.
Which, he got a pretty shitty fucking hand there. Fucking
Yeah.
Padme gets to live on fucking Alderaan,
Mm.
like, with the senators of the planet.
Yeah.
What? That sounds so fucking pleasant, compared to Luke, who's just chucked into a fucking desert shitscape.
Live in a hole in a desert, you little shit.
Did what's the face get force abilities, or was that just Luke?
Yeah, she did.
Okay, fair.
She wasn't as strong, I don't think, but
She just didn't train enough.
yeah, I think it was more to training rather than initial strength.
That's fair.
Because I think in the books she did become a Jedi,
That's fair.
Ooh, wow.
and then in the Disney
Canon.
stuff,
Yeah.
they're like, oh look, she doesn't really have any training, but bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah, it's gonna be a cringe moment from me.
Actually, no, I think they did explain that she had some training, so
Okay, fair.
it's not that bad.
Yeah. Well, regardless, yeah. So that's a little thing. But yeah. So we're talking about now also types of punishing disruptive players, and of course, now I'll immediately throw out: you don't immediately have to go to kicking a player out. We have had to kick a player out in the past. The one that we all kind of cringe when we think about. Yeah, but
Visceral reaction. To
That
thinking
that was unpleasant.
it
Yeah,
was.
It was just like.
Yeah. Granted, that went from 0 to 100 real quick. Yeah. Sorry for the derail. You're on board now. It's all good. Yeah. Yeah. We had a. So I'll quickly give you the rundown. Is essentially we had our campaign. At that point, we had 4 people. It was you two, so
Yep.
Kris and Matt, i.e. Canium and Wolfgang. We had Astro. We had. At that point, that was when
we had Connor at that point.
we had Connor, yes,
Yep.
and so that was also at that point where, as we added Shocks in, which is the disruptive one, we also added my girlfriend in at the time, currently ex. I don't intend to change that. Yeah, no, don't worry.
Praise be to Allah. Oh,
Okay, yeah, no, we're not doing that one. Okay, yeah, no, but yeah, so we basically. So from now onwards, and for the last year, that's my ex. They both joined. She dipped out pretty quick, but Shocks, well, there was a few things. He kind of power built previous characters in the past, so he already had a bad taste going into it. But he ended up just kind of completely breaking the vibe of what we were going for, right? Because all things considered, Canium was disowned by his family, but he was a fun character because he didn't be an edgelord about it.
Yeah, I'm not like,
I was disowned by my family.
Yeah, no,
I hate my family. I'm so edgy.
yeah,
he's
no,
like,
How
oh yeah, cool.
yeah, I got disowned. Fuck him, who cares?
Fuck
sort
'em.
of thing.
I live in my house. I still got money.
Yeah, pretty much. Likewise, Wolfgang. At one point, it was presumed that your mother was dead. You didn't really. You got your character got a bit edgy about it for a little bit, but a session sort of thing.
A
Understandable.
grieving period.
Yeah, it was like, okay, crap, and okay, now I'm good again. All right, cool, let's go.
Alright, now that speed hump's been taken. I've got that speed hump.
She was still now the 5th strongest hero. That's fine. Less heroes are going to take care of.
Well, thank God there's one less notch, one notch away. Fuck, I can't think of something good. Sorry. I'm
Yeah,
trying to kill
it's
myself.
chill. Yeah, I mean, Astro straight up hated his parents. His whole thing was they don't do enough to be heroes, even though they were what, a world-renowned world-renowned neurosurgeon or something, and a molecular biologist. Because correction. Astro's mother was regarded as one of the best. What's it called? Therapists. To some degree, because she could literally understand emotion that other people were giving off, immediately. The best way to stick it to folks is to move on from them rather than wallow. Weird thing about edgelords. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my whole rule of thumb is if something upsets me, okay, I have my hour or two of being oh, that sucks. And then I'm like, okay, cool, I'm good again. Let's go.
I like how
keep
with
moving.
Canium, he eventually went back to his parents and was like, hey, just want to know that, just checking we're cool. And they're like, I guess so.
Well, what? I'm presuming this is out of game, after we'd finished, yeah?
Well, yeah, no, I think this was during game.
Okay.
Oh, just checking we're cool. Oh, yeah.
No, I do remember...
And then I'm just like, can I have some money? And they're like, how much do you want? They're like, I don't know, 10k.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they didn't give you that.
No, I think they did.
Okay.
They're just like, yeah, bada bing, there you go.
Actually, no, that's right. No, it was you went there and your mum answered the door, and your dad just watched you as you walked in with the face of contempt and anger, and you just walked past him, being like, "Oh, by the way, I'm a fucking hero now. Fuck you," sort of thing. They tend to
Just
be
to
more
let you
hopeless
know-
romantic. That's true. Yeah.
I'm doing really well in my career.
Yeah.
Can I have some money?
What do you need it
brother
for? Nothing.
Just help a brother out.
And
No,
by
help
brother,
your
you
son
mean
out.
son. Yeah.
Help your son out, please.
Help.
I come to my Patreon, please. I need 10k.
What about
No.
the bloody jar of spaghetti? Did you end up eating that in the
Yeah, I
finale?
did.
Yeah. So, is this about the campaign in review? Yes and no. It's the whole idea of the podcast is discussing punishing and rewarding players. However, because we DM'd a campaign for 2 years, or rather, I DM'd a campaign for these two plus a few others for 2 years. That's our main go-to for examples of punishing and rewarding players, and it's sort of just a good time, and I enjoy talking about
Very
it.
tangential.
Yeah.
It's very tangential, and for the punishment, I was whipped into place real quick because I did not like the scrotum stretcher.
Yes.
Yeah,
That'll teach you.
That'll teach you, punk.
Heck yeah. So, how do you reward the folks going with the vibe? For a lot of the time, I try to, generally just give a lot of items, experience. My main thing is specifically, if you're being creative, which is what I describe as going along with the vibe, then, say for example, Wolfgang, you end up basically being known as the protagonist of the story, in quotations, of course, because technically they're all protagonists. But
What do you mean technically?
I mean, you're a technical. It's like a CEO. No.
What is you got? Your CEO, your CFO, you got your other
Yeah,
ones.
I don't know, consecutive officer or some shit. I
Yeah,
don't know.
you guys were all you get the meme. Yeah, but yeah, and then so for example, I generally, if you're being creative, I'll stretch the rules a little bit. It's not one size fits all solution to things. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, with the boys, everyone kind of I rewarded differently to some degree. Wolfgang tended to get a lot of kind of really cool weapons. Kana, who was played by one of the other boys, he ended up his whole thing was that he was essentially building an Iron Man suit of armor, sort of thing.
Yeah,
So-
really weird character, that one. I like.
He was a lizard man that had an Iron Man suit of armor,
He was
pretty
like,
much.
yeah, he was a lizard man that could also be a T-Rex if he was trying hard enough, and he was also
If he
trying.
clenched those cheeks and fucking went hard. Yeah,
And then he was also trying to be Iron Man.
yeah, but
Very
I
cool
rewarded
character.
him, for example, by giving him bits and pieces to add to his armor, all that sort of stuff. Whoever is the most direct foil, the final conflict ends up looking like protag. Yeah, well, so, and here's the thing, right, and this is going into literature theory, right, is looking at groups of, there's like 5 individuals, which we ended up with. You've got your main character, your protagonist, you've got your foil, which I would generally say, I mean, Aang is cool, but Toph argument is always great. Yeah, true. But so you got your protagonist, you got your foil, you got your heart, you got your smart, and you got your muscle, right? Kanan was muscle, Wolfgang was protagonist. I would say Sal ended up being the foil or the sidekick to you, because that's sort of what you and Sam are in real life to some degree. I'd
Yeah,
say.
you're the protagonist. Yeah,
Side bitch.
I mean, in that case, you were one of the original members, so it kind of makes sense in that campaign or that setting. I put Kana between Kana and Astro. That's intelligence, or the smart one versus the heart, which floats between the two of them. Kanim, of course, was muscle. I think I already said that.
Obviously. Pure
And
muscle.
yeah, I mean, you were literally
Trying
muscles
to
out of your
contend with my
ears.
26 strength.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, and it just sort of worked. As the DM, I throw experience out, I throw items out, trying to keep it moving, sort of thing. All of that good sort of stuff. I mean, at least even going off the list here, I think I tried to generally have one of basically everything here except for inspiration, because inspiration sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
The thing is, I find, at least with that campaign, and this is something that I was discussing with Astro, is that campaign was one of the ones that, like, I think just in general, it just worked, right? And that's
not Howard.
it just worked.
It just works.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those sort of campaigns where, sure, we had a lot of bits and pieces of, sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it's like, not the best, but there were a lot of times that were memorable. All of our characters were memorable. I would like to think, or rather, all of your characters were memorable. There was certain NPCs that I focused on, and I would like to think ended up somewhat memorable. You guys had
Nemo, Croissant, and Copycat.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
I would just use our names for it rather than their actual names.
I mean, I will step in here and say Big Muss. We had essentially the musses of the different colours. We had red muss, we had brown muss, we had black muss, we had what was it, Principal Muss?
every single power figure
Muss,
had Muss at the
Muss being short for muscles.
Big Muss.
Because yeah, it started with Big Muss, who was big muscles. He's the big, like, what's the word? Why am I blanking on? He's the one that teaches everyone the group stuff. Essentially.
Father figure.
Well, more so the
Mentor.
mentor. That's the one. Yeah, he's the mentor figure. But yeah, regardless, that was the whole thing.
I like that you just go, oh, here's this character and here's their name, and we're like, cool, we're gonna ignore that.
Yeah, we're gonna ignore that and give them dump them this.
Pretty much. It was one of those sort of tropes where I was like, at the start, I kind of went pretty heavy on the tropes. Like, you had your, like, I mean, literally everyone was built into some degree of a trope, but we tried to make it interesting regardless. But, yeah, and then going into, at least what happened with Shocks, everyone had some degree of edge, but they played it not edgy, whereas he came in and his whole thing was just, he sort of brought down the vibe of the room. Like, it was like a wet blanket on a party, for example. That's just sort of how I think everyone felt. And I remember having the discussion, I think, with you, and I was like, oh, I'm going to talk to everyone, and we immediately were just complaining about it, because he was doing some stuff out of campaign that was a bit of a bummer as well, changing your music in your car, all that sort of stuff.
Well, let me just plug my entire fucking laptop into your aux port. I was ready to, like, snap his disgusting laptop in half.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen him since my work Christmas party.
Yeah, I think Mastermind still catches up with it. Wait, hang on, what? Your work Christmas party?
Yeah.
Does he work at Dan's?
No, he doesn't.
Oh, was
Like,
it just
Why was he at your work
he
Christmas
doesn't even
party?
work at General, so...
Yeah.
So we were just like at a restaurant having
Oh,
some drinks.
and he just happened to be there.
Well, the restaurant was in front of his apartment.
Oh.
And I'm just like, hey, I know a guy that lives here.
Take an empty bottle and just throw it up
I'm
to
like,
where
I
he
know a
lives.
guy that lives
No,
here,
don't
and he
do
walks
that.
past. I'm like,
Oh, no.
and he also knew one of the guys I worked with.
Fair.
No.
That
So-
probably isn't good.
He like sees like one of the guys and is like, oh, you two, and I'm just like, me and my coworker are just like, how do you know?
Oh, you.
Oh, you.
Yeah. Needless to say, I talked to everyone, and basically everyone agreed, yeah, no, he doesn't suit our group. And I had to, like, send him a message, and he didn't make it easy either. He was like, oh, I can't believe I'm getting kicked out. Is there any way I can do to
Fuck,
fix this?
I can't believe you've done this.
And I'm like, no, the decision has already been made. Please don't make it hard. Because his whole thing, right, would be that he would catch the train down to your stop, right? I'm pointing to Matt, of course. Matt, you would pick him up. He would get in your car and take your aux cord out of your phone and start playing his own music in your car, which, was one of those things of like, hey, you don't do that. Sounds like he's fixed. Yeah, pretty much. I'll put it this way. The way that he kind of joined the game was I was sitting there on Discord just talking to some of the boys, and he was there. And I think, Chris, you were actually...
I wasn't there, but I remember you mentioned it, and I'm like, oh...
Okay, yeah, that's right. But, I was saying, like, hey, I'm going to jump off so that way I can go run this campaign, because it was getting to that time of day. And he was like, oh, where's my invite? And I was like, I mean, I don't know, but sure, if you want to come, you can. And he's like, okay, cool, I'll be there next session. And I was like, what? Okay, okay, sure. And so he just rocks up next session, and I was like, oh, I guess we're actually doing this then. Sure. So, I ended up basically dealing with that. He was basically like, oh man, I can't believe I'm getting kicked out. I actually could probably find the actual messages now that I think about it.
It
Hold
was
on.
like a lamprey.
Yeah.
You're swimming along, and he just goes... sucks onto you.
It's
it's like, are you fucking for it?
Will, I just realized Will is still in the ongoing call that I started like 2 hours ago.
Do you have a call going?
Because I joined, before we started the podcast, I called Will.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And then he stayed, and he's
He's
still
probably
in that call.
asleep or something.
Possibly.
Like I sound like you woke him up.
Possibly, yeah. Hang on, okay. Keep talking for a quick second while I get this chat up real quick.
Venice. What's this?
Yeah,
No one gets.
no one gets the presumptive song picks unless it's their weed is being smoked and the song being played. That's all good, yeah. Well, it's one of those sort of things of like, you don't get into someone's car and just start changing their music without them saying so.
See, the thing is,
Unless
I
it's
barely.
good music like mine.
No, but his was My Little. His was
Oh,
My Little
oh.
fucking Pony parody shit, and I'm like, oh wow, it's a nice sticker bomb on your. I didn't even comment because I was just like maximum judgment the moment he sat in my car. I was like, oh, is this what degeneracy feels like?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna read.
Looks like so.
I'm not gonna read word by word his response to me. Basically, like it's like I wrote out like a long message being like, "Hey, I'm sorry, it's hard for me to do this, but I'm gonna have to remove you from the thing." Blah blah blah. And he's like, "Oh, I don't really know what to say. I guess I'm sorry. I've never been removed from a campaign in these circumstances before."
Makes me cringe.
Blah blah blah. 'Cause
Everyone else has just been a bitch.
yeah, and he's like, "Oh, maybe it's me being tired or my anxiety kicking in," because of course he had to bring it to anxiety, but it doesn't feel right. I'm gonna sleep on this, and maybe my thoughts will be different. And I'm just like, "Bruh."
Good for you, buddy.
I'm just
Good for you. Don't contact me again, please.
yeah. I was just like, yeah, that's kind of cringe. Not gonna lie. Yeah, out of game fopers are normally neither here nor there, but particular one is pretty tone deaf. Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, where I would say I'm not the best at picking up on, reading the room. That being said, I can know general rules of thumb. You don't get into someone's car and then start playing your own music.
Yeah,
especially,
as I said, I barely knew the bastard.
yeah, especially when it's something very specific like My Little Pony. And sure, if that's whatever works for you, then sure. But like, none of us really want to hear that, to be honest. I remember at one point I was driving him to home from one of these games. So not only did you drive him in, but he would stay the night at my place and then ask me in the morning to drive him 40 minutes north to drop him home, as opposed to catching the train.
How about this? I'll drive you 10 minutes, the closest 5 even, to the closest train station.
It's not even 5, it's literally like 2 minutes sort of thing.
Bada bing. You can take the train home with the rest of you non-drivers.
Yeah, like...
Got a license.
Get a license, motherfucker.
Yeah, I mean, granted, sure, whatever, like, it's a whole thing, but, it kind of was out of my way, and I'm a university student, I don't often have time to drop like that. Do I feel like I could have done something better to handle that player?
No.
Well, here's the
Don't
thing.
interact with him.
I mean, not invite him in the first place.
You didn't invite him.
I mean, tell him no out of the bat. Well, yeah.
Out of the bat.
I should have vetted him more. Yeah, thing is, because of the way it works, right? So, he originally joined our other campaign that Mastermind was running because he was in a class of masterminds. And so, they started talking, and then he sort of just ended up there, and that one I was like, okay, it's Mastermind's call, whatever. But I definitely should have vetted him more before, at least.
That was like me. That was like me with him. I wouldn't have offered him a seat in my car on the way there.
Yeah.
I was under the presumption that he was your friend.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, whatever. I'll just take Zach's friend. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, I barely know him. I was like, oh, let's kick him out.
Yeah.
Straight away, I was like, I don't want him in my car anymore. He stinks. He's got tooth rotten. Bad BO.
Yeah.
And he looks like fucking Cherie from Breaking Bad.
Who?
He looks like Cherie from Breaking Bad.
Damn, I haven't watched Cherie. Breaking Bad in that long, I don't know who that is.
Hank's wife. Remember Hank, the cop?
Yeah, the cop.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
I don't remember this character either.
I'll look up an image.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, it's one of those things of, it went badly, it was a bad call. I should have vetted him more, but it's the past. It's, we've been there, we've gone over that hurdle, and that's what happens when you're a DM, right? That's what happens when you're having a life, when you're existing. You do things, you have struggles, you move past them, you move past them, and you learn.
He's still alive. He probably doesn't think about the game anymore. He's I'm talking about him.
Oh yeah.
I've never had this. It's like it's not like a world-breaking event. Just get the fuck over it.
I get that. Certain people like latch onto stuff very heavily.
Marie, not Cherie.
But he.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yes, it does. Oh.
Only if she was slightly balding and had thinner hair.
Yeah, and stunk.
that hurt me. But yeah, regardless, we learnt from it. That was an example of an extreme situation. No,
Yes.
that picture is surprisingly accurate. But yeah, so unfortunately, it is what it is. But that's an extreme example of, what we had to do in that circumstance that we all judged to be the right move. Past that, however, or rather before that, there is plenty of other things that you can do in terms of punishing players. A lot of them less necessarily drastic, I would say. And this can be in just characters messing up, doing dumb decisions. Yeah. A lot of the time, it's from playing a character badly, or depending on whether the circumstance calls for it, it might be even maybe asked for, in quotations, asked for by the player in terms of, I have a flaw, can this happen often enough that it's a thing? That being said, if they're asking for it, then I try and keep it not too destructive for their player, but in terms of destruction, items and money. As you gain items and money from being a good player, you can lose items and money from being a bad player. If you are generally being a disruptive player and you're not putting effort into the campaign and you're being a pain, but I don't want to kick you out of the game, my first thing is, okay, you're going to get robbed. You'll have a chance to stop it, but chances are, if you're being disruptive and all the other players aren't particularly into the idea of helping you, you're going to have to take on that enemy alone, which can be difficult, or even I'll just set it in a situation where you're dealing with it alone and they take some item. That being said, that can work as a plot hook.
Yep.
Depending on how you're going with it. And this is, to be fair, this could all be seen as me being spiteful as a DM.
Well, I think the robbing idea is a good idea. Because, it's either follow the plot hook and potentially get your item back.
Yep.
Or ignore the plot hook, lose an item.
Yeah, ignore the plot hook, be a bad player, lose an item, essentially. Yeah. And that is almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if they're being a bad player, they're not going to want to follow the plot hook. Or maybe they will, maybe they want their stuff back. It's a shame when anything in a session is inconductive to fun. Hang on, we're a bit away from the actual screen, so it's hard to actually read messages. Anything inconducive to fun. I mean, what as in stopping fun? Well, as in stopping fun generally. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, like at the end of the day, there's a few things that can be done. Another one that I thought of earlier that I haven't actually done before is giving items curses. In terms of either new items that they purchase, or you've pissed off a devil or a demon or something, and they're gonna curse your shit.
Kind of like the idea of a curse.
Yeah,
it's like in the last podcast.
Yeah,
we're talking about like flaws.
Yeah, exactly. If it's done right, it's the main thing.
If it's done right, don't just be like, oh, here's a curse.
Yeah,
but here's an item. Oh, I've attuned to it. Look at that, I've got a curse.
Well, the sort of situation that I would go through with this, right, is and this would specifically be for if a player is being a murder hobo type character, where they're just, I'm just going to walk in and attack. I'm just going to attack. Just keep attacking. Attack. Okay, you come up against this old man. You can either talk to him or you can attack him. Okay, I'm going to attack him. All right, well, he's actually a devil in disguise. And from you attacking him, he's going to change into his normal form, slap you, dealing however much damage, figuratively slapping, the meaty cock of a devil, and basically go, okay, fuck you, you're cursed. That's something that you could theoretically do. Yeah. Then, of course, that opens it up to a plot hook. If you repent, in quotations, you could get uncursed.
Kind of sounds like a hag thing, actually.
Possibly hags, yeah, that's possible.
Look at me, I'm an old woman, and then he's like, oh yeah, it's obviously a hag. Slap. Rather than initiating combat, the hag goes, curse, and fucks off.
You're right to try and make a change, seeing as it is a punishment or reward. It's a categorical thing. Sort of like paying extra attention as a DM. Yeah, ultimately, these are all certain things that, you can do, or if you don't want to do it, then really whatever works. This is just kind of our list, and I keep saying our list. you guys are welcome to chime in if you can think of something that you want to talk about. Of just at least what I would do to deal with someone who is causing trouble, but I don't want to kick them out.
You know what's a cool thing?
Yep.
It wasn't a punishment, but you could use it as a punishment.
Yep.
But what my monk Gabbro gets, he gets consumptions.
Consumptions.
Because I've made it kind of that he's going crazy.
Yep.
And like instead of being like edgy, I'm gonna kill everyone, kind of crazy, it's like he actually gets a consumption that's dictated by the DM.
Yep.
So one of my consumptions it was one that he rolled, and it doesn't really suit the character, but it's like I have to spend an hour every day sharpening every sharp object I have.
Fair.
And then there's
Is
one
that an hour each, or is that just an hour in
Oh,
total?
just an hour.
Okay, fair.
And then it's like he did. It was really loose when we did it. I guess you know.
Yep.
But what he also gave me, which was kind of my suggestion, the one because he's a monk, he's not a stealth character. But
Yep.
every single time I walk through any door, I have to knock on it.
Fair.
Like if it's
That
closed,
sounds-
I go dunk dunk dunk. So I could be like full master stealth, pass without a trace kind of shit. Like 30 stealth and just go.
Yeah, you've gone crazy because you saw, like, you busted into a room and saw someone, like, two orcs fucking or some shit.
Oh well, what happened was I was an acolyte of the Greedy Down.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
it would be really greedy, right? Try to take out loot.
Yeah.
And it would give me power if I offered it loot, and I was like, sweet. But it came with the consequence of getting some consumptions.
Yeah. I'm guessing the name consumptions as in you are consumed by the urge to do something.
Yeah, well, yeah, consumption is the sharpened
Yeah, yeah.
or the kind of thing.
Yep.
And what else he made me do was lost time. You remember he'd say, "Oh, yeah, mate, you go to sleep.
Oh, yeah.
You wake up in the morning covered in blood." It's like, what did I do then?
Fair. Yeah, it's sort of like going carousing to some degree, going out and in-game drinking, which I'm not particularly too fond of, but I know, Chris, you've had some interesting experiences with doing so.
There's some good experiences
Love a bit
we
of
had
carousing.
Yeah. Some good stuff. I remember, was it you that lost a charisma point stat by pissing off a bear? Or was it someone else?
No, I don't think it was me.
But someone else.
Recently, when I was playing,
Yep.
I went carousing.
Yeah, the ghost knocker. Door knocking stealth master. Sounds like the pathway to being an eccentric Batman villain. True. Yeah.
I'm gonna become the Joker.
Went
Yeah.
So I went carousing
What a classic.
after a fair few drinks.
Yep.
Woke up in an alleyway with like smell of blood and gunpowder.
Yep.
And I'd like shot myself in the shoulder.
Mm.
Oh,
Maybe. I don't know. It was
Maybe.
my gun, but it was, I don't know.
You were shot.
Yeah,
I
you
was
end up shot. Yeah.
My gun was there, and I'm like,
Huh?
But yes, Matt, you are the one who knocks.
I'm the one who knocks.
Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, yeah, I'm personally not particularly too keen on carousing because I don't like the idea of my character not really being controlled by myself, but that's just my style.
I feel like before you do carousing,
Yep.
your DM needs to have like a bit of a grasp on.
What your character actually is, yeah. That's fair. Because, yeah, there's nothing too good about, oh, yeah, I as a DM am now taking control of your character, and here's something that you wouldn't do, sort of thing.
Yeah. Like, you know, a lot of the time, it makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, because with your character, it's a running joke, you have no gun safety. So shooting yourself, you're literally shooting yourself in the foot, but it's fitting for your character.
So, like, for other characters, you know, a lot of drinks that make you go a bit fucky, you know?
Yeah. Go a bit kooky, go a bit crazy.
Go a bit crazy,
Yeah, so I
go a bit
reckon,
wacky.
reckon back on the whole punishment thing. The punishment has to be very to the character.
Yeah, it's got to be integral.
You're
Definitely.
like, oh, you're a wizard that loves making scrolls. Well, it just so happens that
Your scroll
Oh.
collection is burnt down or something.
it's like I don't know. Yeah, you put your say it's really bad. Like you roll lucky. It's like, oh, you put your scrolls in a chest, but then it rained and now they're all soggy
Yeah.
and ruined.
Yeah, it's something that
Stuff like that. So you
messes
can
you up.
Yeah, mess up the character in the short term.
Yeah. There was another one. Well, we got losing stats here that is probably a bit drastic for my tastes,
Oh yeah,
but it's a possibility.
Like, you look at the injury table,
Yes.
for example.
love
Yeah.
the injury table.
Yeah.
Injury table. So, you know, you could lose a bit of speed, like a
Yep.
leg injury.
Yep.
You, like, lose your nose. That's some perception loss.
I mean,
And
yeah.
charisma, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably charisma loss. Yeah, I could see that.
Like, that would be a pretty bad loss, actually.
Yeah.
Boom. That's like -8 to charisma off the bat.
Losing charisma, you'd lose some
A -8,
perception.
sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You'll
your
lose charisma,
intimidation
yeah.
would be the same.
Yeah. No,
If
If not
intimidation would
going
go
up, yeah.
I'd say it wouldn't be a flat charisma loss. It would be like persuasion and stuff loss,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not charisma.
That's cool,
loss.
actually.
The stroll chest is a mimic. That's actually what I thought of. Yeah. Suck at 8 your stroll, but roll to possibly befriend the mimic. Yeah, or just attack the mimic and try and get your stuff back.
Yeah.
That comes into another. Well, because that then gives an encounter that you can possibly get back from. Or you might be able to salvage one or something. Stuff like that. It's all about trying to see the silver lining per se. Okay, past losing stats, we can, of course, depending on what sort of player they are, you can possibly give them a floor, so like your consumptions, where they're, because at the end of the day, if a player's being disruptive, it might be just because they're bored. Giving them a floor gives them something to do, something to play with. That's probably the lower or the lighter end of stuff that I would do as a punishment. Frankly, a lot of the time I just try and give out floors anyways because I think floors are good for character building. So take that as you will. Realistically, at the end of the day, it's really whatever works. But that's at least where I'm at with that. Now, a pretty common one, and this is one that I had this discussion with one of the boys about. If someone's sitting around your table, and I think we actually discussed this last week as well, and they're being disruptive or they're not paying attention, as the DM, just start rolling dice. Just roll dice, and then be like, you take however much damage, a couple of damage. Okay, every time they stop paying attention, or say if you call for a save and they don't roll the save, okay, they just fail.
Yeah.
You called for a save.
Like, if you call for a save and they don't respond, I'd say that's a fail.
Yeah.
But if they're just, not doing anything, you don't necessarily need to give them damage. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
But if, you're in a safe environment,
Yeah.
relatively, and they're just not paying attention, you can just ask them questions that would kind of make them concerned.
Yeah.
What's your AC? How much health do you have?
Yeah. How fast do you think you could run in the middle of the night if you were going down an alleyway? The usual.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If I were to sink my teeth into your eye right now, would you be able to stop me before I blinded you?
Yeah, the usual stuff.
Yeah, the usual.
The usual shit. Well, what about what I did a little bit in that little campaign I ran? The spin downs are, these are my fuck off dice.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Start at 20, if you piss me off and they reach 1, someone dies.
Or if not dies, just takes a lot of
It
damage.
just takes a lot of damage, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's even stuff like that, because that gives a tangible thing, and naturally, especially I know with you, that having something tangible there is good, having little figures, or, having a map. I know that's why we didn't ever really play Discord D&D. Trapdoors under the chairs at the game table leading to a piranha tank, absolutely, yeah. Wallace and Gromit, that shit. You pull a lever, they just slide down a massive slide.
I like how
It's like
immediately thought fucking Austin
Yes,
Powers.
I was about to say that. I thought
You're
Austin
like
Powers
Austin
in
Gromit went
with, like Austin Powers
That's
send
the-
them into the friggin' the shark tank with all the lasers on there.
I haven't actually watched.
the furnace. Yeah. Ah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I haven't actually watched Austin Powers, so that would be why. But yeah,
You haven't?
no, I
Holy
haven't. No.
shit.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch many movies, so it's not too surprising.
That one's like a family classic.
Yeah, I mean, we watched Monty Python and the Holy Grail the other night.
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so fucking good.
Yeah,
I just love the part where the old dude's standing there trying to speak and just gets his friggin' throat slit by the knight riding past.
yeah.
Like, what a classic.
Because that's the plot point for the rest of the the ending, pretty much.
And the rise and fall of my fires.
True, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
What do you mean Love Guru is good?
Ah.
I haven't seen Love Guru.
I haven't either.
It was, it was on TV, and I started watching it once, and it was terrible. I was like, "Is this fucking for real?" Like, it was bad.
Yeah.
Walking around trying to be all Hindu, like, "Hey, I am the guru."
What is this, Kama Sutra of the movie?
Pretty much.
Fair.
Actually, I think that's what they were trying to do. I didn't watch enough of it.
I do want to read the Kama Sutra, but as a meme.
I want to read it seriously. Yeah, I want to read it seriously. I want to be able to fold my mistress in half.
the boys do a stream reading of the Kama Sutra. That sounds like it'd be a meme.
Fold you like a chair and sit on you.
Ever heard of I Married an Axe Murderer?
No.
No, I haven't.
I mean, Chris, I imagine that's something that you would be particularly down for.
I'll be back as soon as I can figure out how to get across this table.
Parkour it.
Yeah. We, unfortunately, as I've been rearranging my room, Mike Myers' romantic comedy movie from the 90s. Oh, I see. That makes sense. But yeah,
That must be really good because I've never heard of it.
yeah. I can't particularly say, well, because I just in general, I don't particularly watch many movies, but, it is what it is at the end of the day. Okay, for a second I thought Chris was having a bit of trouble with the door, because we had to lock it. But, yeah, so that's the whole thing. But, yeah, where were we at? Damage or death. Yeah, so, someone at the table sitting on their phone, just start asking questions, like, all that sort of stuff, like, hey, what's your AC? You just get a dice and start rolling it. I have these nice metal dice that I can roll, and I would like to think that it strikes a bit of fear into everyone's hearts when I start rolling them.
What's a good idea?
Yep.
Buy a table breaker.
A table breaker.
A dice.
I have that. It's called my cock. I mean, what?
But will you listen to me now? No,
We've been drinking, by the way. That's just a side note.
a table breaker, like a shot put, but it's a D20.
Oh, Jesus, that would be.
So it's like a 3 kilo D20.
It's time for you to roll. It's time for me to roll to hit. Thud, thud, thud.
Crit.
It reminds me. I was watching. So there's a series that I watch called Man Shorts occasionally, and there's a whole running joke. Cause they've got a really big dice, and the person who's rolling, she's like, oh, rolls it over like one side. Says 7 on the top. That's an 18. That's a 20. That's a 3. Just like not even hiding the fact that she's just, it's a whatever sort of thing. Good show. I do enjoy watching it. If you were doing this sober, you would be weirded out. When Chris gets back, I'm going to go also quickly grab myself one of my alcohols. I've got some rum over on the whiskey. Yeah. But yeah, that's the whole thing. Regardless. Yes. Man Shorts is awesome. Yeah, definitely. DM Edition was a really good one. The whole idea of that episode was basically because they do weird styles. So for DM Edition, it's essentially like, each of you are trying to DM a game. Okay, roll a d20 to see what group you get. The female ends up with a bunch of like Redditor simps. I can't remember what the other guys got, but it was pretty good. It's a good show. The Florida ones, yeah, that's actually how I found them because I got one of my buddies from Canada. He sent them to me and was like, "Hey, you play D&D, yeah? You would like this one." I gave like most of them a watch through, and they're pretty good. They've become the discussion on subs versus dubs. I'll have you know that dubs are superior. Though I'm pretty sure, yeah, Matt, you disagree with that. Subs over dubs.
Subs are much better than dubs because there's something I can't handle when trying to match the words with their face. Plus, I kind of know the language a little bit.
Yeah, true, yeah.
So it's like, sitting there like, oh, I like this, and then you see the mouth go.
Well, that also
holy shit.
that also comes down to the quality of the localization team.
Oh, yeah. If it's really good quality dub, and you can't really see it, it's pretty seamless.
Yeah, though we do know a couple people. The person who played Kana is very on top of that. Even when
on top of the manga.
Well, the thing is, like, I remember we were watching Charlotte at one point, and he came in and he's like, "Oh, this show, the timing of the mouth to the sound is completely off." And I'm sitting there like, I'm just watching it because I like it. It's cool. It's a cool show. But okay, sure. I guess not.
What's this?
That was back when we were watching Charlotte. I think we were watching Charlotte before we started D&D, and he rocked up for the session. But
I don't know. He didn't mean it. Like his intentions were good, but he was definitely the I read the manga, so I'm superior.
Yeah, he is that type. Yeah,
but
I mean that being said,
as I said, like I knew him well enough that he wasn't being malicious.
Of course, yeah, I know for a fact he's not being malicious with it. I mean, if he was, I probably wouldn't have DM'd for him for a year. He came in about a year into the campaign.
Yeah,
but that's all good. Okay, that being said, so the next, and I think the next natural progression of that is, of course, having characters die if they do enough bad, or if it's early enough in the game where it doesn't really make a difference. I personally prefer to hold off on killing characters, just in general, because frankly, especially my hero campaign, I don't want to kill off any of the crew because they're so almost personal at that point that it would be bad to kill them off.
It'd definitely add a good layer of Ermagerd.
Yeah.
But
But
In
at the
my
same
other
time,
campaign-
I can't imagine killing off any of Wolfgang, Kana, Astro,
Yeah,
Canium, etc.
Not without, like, I guess, us discussing and consent
Yeah.
prior. Like,
Because at that point, I feel like legitimately, if I killed off Wolfgang, it would just be a thing of you just either probably would just leave, or we would have to properly figure out a way for Wolfgang to come back.
yes, it'd be weird because I'd have to, like, if I was to make another character, it'd nearly be like a clone. See, and that's a similar thing happened, like people dying in our other campaign. Sam, I guess, got bored of his character, or the character's story had run its course.
Yeah, fair.
So
Is this the fighter?
yeah, so
Oh.
he died.
Did he?
Yeah,
Oh, damn.
It was definitely scripted because no matter how hard I tried as my ultra powerful cleric,
Yeah,
he wouldn't come back to life.
that's fair.
So I was like, oh well, that's fucked.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was it was alright. I mean, I knew it was going to be scripted, but we made it so it was like I tried my best, but sometimes people just have to die.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta let dead dogs lie.
Sometimes you just got to take him out the back and give him a heckin' bullet.
Look off into the sunset. It'll be okay. The best part of the Man Shorts DM edition skit is when, after making a campaign in short notice, the players of that campaign call trying to change class or reschedule. Oh, trust me, I know that one. Hang on.
It's
Quickly give this a taste.
I like how I just had a sip and I'm like,
That's an interesting taste, yeah.
that is an interesting taste.
It was a moment of internet content where part of me that died came back to life. Yeah. I actually ran a campaign, right? This is the one that we were talking about earlier with your Eldritch Knight.
Oh,
And
I really want to play that character.
I do want you to play that character
Which
again. That was
campaign
good.
was that again?
You ended up not coming to it. That was the one with Mastermind. One of the particular people I was talking to of the female variety. We had, who was that? That was some of the boys, Mastermind, you, and one of the people that we were hanging out with the other week, if you recall, when he stayed over at my house for 4 days.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, granted. So myself and one of the people in that campaign, no one here, of course, we spent about 4 days building a warforge that was made of different metals that would give him certain abilities, and it was all this cool stuff of being powered by like the seed of life inside of him or some shit.
Sick.
It's you let anyone crash.
It's a recurring pattern.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. But yeah, and then so we worked on this character for quite a while, and I put a lot of effort into it because, of course, it was a base that was from the game, but we custom built a bit of stuff from it. And I rock up on the day, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm not playing that character anymore. I'm playing a Storm Sorcerer." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." I was pretty pissed off about that one because between you and the person who stayed at my place for 4 days, those two characters were built to work together because your character was, a rich aristocrat who had hired a guard, the guard being the other character. And I very much liked that situation because he was building his character to fit that, and so were you to some degree.
Hell, there wasn't
But-
even any prior.
Yeah.
I just showed up and he was like, "Oh, I'm like this," and I was like, "Sweet."
Yeah, well, yeah, because no, there was a bit of plot prior planning, like a couple
We
of days
probably
ahead.
talked about
There's
it,
like
but
one
he's-
thing.
He was not in my character creation.
Yeah, and then I basically said, "Hey, do you want to integrate your characters?" Yeah, cool, all right, then bada bing, bada boom, it works.
Oh, but that Storm Source, that guy was the pinnacle of a shit player. I'm sitting there and I'm looking, and he doesn't even hide it. He'd be like, "Oh, an 8." He's got like a modifier of 4.
Yeah, so he
16.
Yeah, he fudged
Something like
dice.
that. He just fudge it. He just fudge rolls.
Yeah, and because he specifically went out of his way, if you recall, when we turned up to Mastermind's place, he specifically sat at the opposite end of the table from me, even though I actually walked in and was like, "I want to sit there," and he's like, "Oh no, I'm sitting there." I'm like, "Okay, well I'm sitting on the other, okay, sure, all right."
Also,
I have to sit at the end because I'm the DM, so
Also, I'd like to point out
Yep.
that in Mastermind's campaign,
yes,
he played a warlock.
yes, he did, yes.
I don't recall.
I also love how you know exactly who the fuck we're talking about.
I don't remember taking a single short rest that entire campaign.
Yeah, that's actually pretty accurate, yeah.
Warlocks are built on short rests.
Yeah, his whole sort of situation was less than possible. You feel like you don't even know you anymore. I'm still me, I just found Jesus, and he said I'm a ranger. Well, we did actually have a ranger that, his name was Megadil, and of course I called him Megadildo, because as you will, as you would, and as you should, his character died because he's got his head exploded by a psychic scream. While I got up and at that point I was playing my wizard who could have stopped this with counterspell. I get up, I'm like, I need to go to the toilet. I go, take a mad fucking shit, and I come back and I'm like, so what's happening? Oh yeah, Megadil just got his head exploded. Okay,
Oh,
sure.
yeah. What else? I forgot that I had multi-attack that combat
Yeah.
session. So
So if we had tried, we probably could have saved him.
I could have dealt literally double the fucking damage.
So
Rest in
okay,
peace.
actually, here's the thing. Here's a reason that I would want to be kind of punishing him, is when he basically brought back a clone of his character called Gigadil, which I called Gigadildo, naturally, as you do.
And Gigadildo.
They were brothers that were never mentioned in each other's backstories.
Oh, yes.
That was the whole thing that happened.
Perfect.
But yeah, and so naturally, it was one of those sort of situations where it was what it was. But oh well. Okay, and so here's the thing, right? So the next main header we've got here is losing levels. Now, the way that it was done in Mastermind's campaign was that when you died, you lost 2 levels. So that was sort of an inherent punishment, which
I'm
luckily,
not a big fan of that personally.
yeah, because it does put you behind, and the last thing you want is characters who are behind. We started with an issue with that when Kana and Sal both joined. Sam/Sal both joined my campaign, where
Very
they were
weak.
very underpowered compared to, the person who could literally shoot thermite, the person who was covered in crystals and could barely ever take damage, and had a plus 19 to hit by the end of the campaign, and the person who could literally fly.
Funnily enough, I had a surprisingly low AC.
Yeah, but that's why you had your ability to buff your AC up.
Well, no, that was with it buffed.
Oh, that's concerning.
Like 18.
Oh yeah, I had way better AC than you.
I mean, you're also made of metal.
Yeah, I had an AC of 21.
Yeah.
I think I got it buffed once to 20.
Yeah, I think by the end we decided that when you armored up, you would have to roll to be able to determine how much armor you get. You think it's lame to pull a sudden identical sibling thing, but the fun of that could come when there's a third. Yeah, though I don't know where you go from Mega and Giga. Omega Dildo.
Oh no, what's the Pterodildo?
Pterodildo.
What is this, Terraria?
Petadildo.
Yeah.
Is there no
Penta?
So there's Pentadildo. Is that what? Yeah, Penta.
I don't know.
So it goes terabyte.
You're thinking as in like megabytes.
Yeah, I'm
like
thinking. I'm
Oh,
going
yeah,
on
bytes,
the scale.
megabytes, gigabytes, gigabytes, terabytes, petabytes. I should know this. I'm a computer science student, but I don't, because I don't do
What's
hardware.
the bigger one?
The
Biggest one.
The biggest one is my arsehole. I mean, what? What? Yeah, no.
So, also, I'd like to point out, do you remember Aiden in Steven's campaign, how his wizard came to an end?
Oh yes,
What
tell
happened?
that story whilst I grab a drink.
Alrighty, good story.
Hang on. Actually, having a character who makes a bad decision, knowing that the third sibling is actually the actual character that you plan to play longer than him, might be charming. Yes, if it's done right specifically.
Yeah, I reckon that would work. Yeah, it's like you're planning. Like that would mean that there's planning. This guy's just like, well, that character died. I'm just gonna make him again,
So,
which is fine. I mean,
yeah.
not
So
again.
our wizard in the party, we had to venture into a cave by the sea, and I think he ended up going down a vertical shaft for some reason, which
Do you lube up first?
so
This joke has become this podcast has become very
Gone
interesting.
sexual.
Yeah,
gone wrong, gone right, gone left.
Gone
gone
up.
top and also bottom.
There was water at the bottom. It was like a blowhole kind of
situation.
like structure, yeah. So he fell into that, and so he had to make saves to not be smacked against the of the rocks by the waves. Him being a wizard.
Is that straight cordial?
No, it's juice.
Are you sure?
Yes, it's literally multivitamin
Oh,
juice.
thank God. I was thinking, dude, you're drinking concentrate.
Continues to uncork bottle.
Yes. The wizard is going down a shaft. Continue. Yeah, pretty much.
So,
Punk.
yeah, so being
Apologies for the audio as well, by the
a
way.
wizard, he got fucking smacked against the rocks like a bitch. So he has the bright idea to cast Summon Greater Demon.
Oh.
Because, of course, why not?
Yeah, yeah,
course.
fucking why not?
Not like water breathing or, like, fly or levitate.
Or Dimension Door, or, any of those other
Anything.
spells.
Yeah.
So he casts Summon Greater Demon. Surprise, surprise, it summons a Greater Demon. He gets smacked against a rock, loses concentration, and thus loses control of said Greater Demon. Said Greater Demon proceeds to beat the shit out of him, along with the waves also beating the shit out of him.
As a wizard.
We didn't find much of the body.
Yeah, understandable.
But we'll get to the reason I'm bringing up this story.
Yep.
Eventually the campaign kind of died off a bit, and we got a bit of a soft reboot, set like 30 years later.
Or flaccid reboots, as we
Flaccid
call them
reboot,
in the business.
In the business.
Yes.
And he came back as a tiefling.
You don't think the demon was that great at all? I'm sure that, Chris, I feel like you
I
might
thought
have...
it was pretty great.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, so I feel like in this context, it was more appropriate to bring back your resurrected character rather than just like, your character dies, next session you're back like, oh, look at me, I've got the same character.
Mm.
This is like...
The identical twin is a bit different to the, I'm actually just playing the same character.
Yeah, this is like a, set a while later.
Yep.
Different whole scenario, and he's managed to make a deal with a devil to come back.
Yeah.
That's
So-
cool. I mean, that works.
I feel like
If it
was-
works in story, then it's good.
I feel like that was much more appropriate,
Yes.
rather than just like, oh, here's my twin brother, or oh, I'm immediately resurrected.
Yeah.
See, the only way you can make that work is if you have an IQ that's at least higher than the room temperature at Fahrenheit. I mean, Celsius.
Yeah, I'll have you know that I watch Rick and Morty, so there.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't even watch Rick and Morty.
Actually, to be fair, I haven't actually watched Rick and Morty season 3, so
Nor have I.
yeah, I should
I've
probably
watched
do that.
season 4.
Oh,
They have a season.
wait, I've
Oh no,
watched
hang on, no,
season 3.
yeah, I've watched 3, not 4. 3 was pretty shit though, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Szechuan sauce.
Oh,
Oh,
That's my favorite meme, that one.
yeah, no.
I love that meme. That was a good meme. Bring it back.
What about that funny ass... look, I was going to bring up Pickle Rick, but I have a will to...
Pickle
Oh,
Reed.
did you see that picture of the guy
Yeah.
that made
Oh, the
pickle
raccoon
Rick
meat.
out of raccoon meat?
Oh, that hurts.
Oh.
Oh,
I'm
Poor-
not, by the way, for the record,
poor
I'm not
baby.
putting any of this on editing. I'm not bringing it up.
Yeah.
So
Don't bring up an image. Or do.
I'm not going to bring up an image because A, that's editing, and B,
No raccoon meat on your stream.
no,
I mean, it's just like venison. Wait,
let's
what would
not.
it be like?
Rat meat,
Rat meat? Yeah.
but bigger.
Yeah.
Big rat.
The worst part of a frivolous new character is that distracts from the significance of the old character's death. Absolutely, definitely.
Mm.
Generally when I do try and kill off characters, I want to make it, proper and, meaningful, and oh hey guys, it's me 2.0. How's it going? It's like,
Actually,
oh okay, sure.
That's what's really cool about the way my friend's character died, right?
Yeah.
So
Sam
he,
specifically, yeah.
he properly died, and it was like we had to make it like I don't give a shit, but it's like
Even the warrior send off in the
warrior
boat.
send off. Like we took him back to his home country,
Nice.
and then I buried him because I was domain. I divine intervention and controlled. I basically stole the power from a local Fey forest and made him a living coffin.
Very fresh.
And then it lowered him in to the thing. So like I grabbed him, and it was like it's like an active defense. If anyone tries to defile his body,
It'll
Nice.
defile him back.
Yeah.
Or
So
them back, rather.
So what? Yeah, and then we gave him the warrior send off. What's really cool is one of our characters has a little bit of backstory where they're a prince.
Yeah.
So as a prince, he unofficially knighted him upon death.
That's pretty
Nice.
fresh.
Yeah. So they buried him, and then it just lowered itself down. And then me with my 23 strength because I have an item.
Oh yeah, you got the belt of Cloud
Well,
Giant strength.
Uh,
Well, not Cloud Giant.
Frost.
I had Cloud. You've got Frost. Yeah.
It's like being a saint, you know. I don't think any saint has been
Knighted
given
in
the title of saint while alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what the character said.
Yeah,
is like,
that's like I agree with what Ghost is saying here. Yeah, that's actually pretty fucking
Yeah.
dope. Not gonna lie.
it was pretty cool because we knew that map like pretty well because it was a really well constructed map. So where we buried him, I knew that was there. And
Yeah.
my friend's like, "Well, shit, I can't say no to you." Kind of divine intervention.
Yeah,
again,
I
doing
also
that.
can't say no to you doing anything because I'm dead. So
Oh no, I'm talking about the DM.
different one. Oh
Yeah.
damn, yeah.
So I mean, actually, Sam wasn't there for that session. He found out all of that later.
Oh,
'cause he
I'm
was
guessing
dead.
he talked about it. Like
Yeah, we-
discussed
he
it.
died. Then we stopped the session. Then we came back like a little later, and then buried him. And Sam was like at work or some shit.
Oh,
So
fair.
What
yeah,
a nerd.
Yeah.
What a nerd.
I mean,
What a
you
fucking
literally
nerd.
work with his mother.
Yeah. dude.
what a nerd!
What a
Yeah.
nerd.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so good. But now I feel like if I go back to that Fey forest, the Fey Queen's gonna have some stern words.
Oh, she's probably gonna be like, "Hey, what the fuck did you do,
Yeah,
dickhead?"
excuse me, did you just because it's really cool the way the domain works with its it's channeled divine intervention, because I don't have a deity that I can be like, can you please give me some coochie? You know, it's more like,
Give me Gucci, please.
give me coochie. It's like, I'm just going to suck up all the power, the divine power in the area, and the highest concentration of that was in the Fae. Even
Yeah.
though it's not divine, it's still kind of power.
It's DM bending it. It's still cool.
So I did that. That was friggin' sick. And then
They like doing curses, though.
Hmm?
They do like doing curses.
well, I mean, I guess there's a curse on the land. If you try to dig anywhere near that coffin, you're going to get impaled.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of races that are considered Fae, and their creation is just they fucked with a high-level Fae.
Fair.
That's how quicklings were made.
Quicklings. Yeah,
Quicklings.
it makes sense
What
actually.
the fuck is a quickling?
I
Yeah, like
don't
a-
know what a quickling is.
Ugh.
Do you mean a changeling?
No, a
No.
quickling.
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 So a quickling was like some Fae creature, and the one of the queens of the Fae was like, "Oh yeah, show up like at this time, like all of you."
Show up or blow up.
And then they showed up late,
Oh.
and they kept doing it or something. They kept showing up late, so the queen's like, "All right, curse time." Fucking made them all insanely fast, and short-lived.
Fair enough.
Everything about them's quick. Actually, what's this?
Embezzling Fey magic is a crime punished by 5 to 10 years playing D&D 4th edition.
No! Oh God! I think what's really cool, which will kind of help me in a situation, if a situation were to arise where this Fey Queen's like, I'd like some penance.
You just
or some
use your
shit
divine
for what-
intervention to absorb all of her power.
Hiya!
No power for you!
Yeah, buddy. What it was back when we were on this continent and we were helping out, we slayed a massive undead army, which is easy for
True,
a cleric. I
yeah.
just went divine intervention.
Just
Yeah.
Just demolished everything. Sorry,
Um,
not divine intervention. Just turn undead
Yeah,
or
turn
destroy
undead,
undead. And I was really powerful there. And because of my domain, I had create large insect.
Oh, yeah.
And what happened, it was really cool. What he did was, so this war was kind of going out between like multiple factions, and this undead army was like just happened to appear, and they're just like, well, whilst everyone's already fighting amongst themselves, we're gonna go in there and fuck them up.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like a war of attrition, but instead of attrition, it's kicking their asses.
Yeah, and we, a party of 5, did the work of 3 armies. So
Yeah.
what we did, like, we walked up and we saw this Fey forest was actually getting attacked by some giants.
Yep.
I think these were undead giants. So yeah, it was the Necro army kind of fighting it.
Yeah.
And they were like, ooh, trying to get in through the wall. And I made some giant centipedes, and they demolished those giants breaking
they
out the side.
fucking would.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
Centipedes are fucked.
yeah. You know what happened? I got those set. There was a wizard that we were fighting, and he actually had to full plot armor the shit out
Oh
of it.
yeah, I recall this. Yeah.
He was like, dude, this character has a little bit more thingo, but you're munting him. Because what happened was Sam was a fighter. He used the attack that puts him on the ground. So every melee attack is a crit.
trip. Yeah, it's the trip Battlemaster ability. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Right.
I think we got crits every single time we could hit him on the
No,
ground.
so technically you'd have advantage.
Oh,
but
that's
yeah.
it, advantage.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had all of my...
I think it's paralysis that's crits every time.
That's it, yeah.
We do
paralysis.
actually have the book, the
Yeah,
DM
the
screen
thing
there. But yeah, it's if you're
Which centipedes
restrained
do.
in quotations.
Centipedes give you fucking paralysis.
Ah,
That's why they're fucked.
Oh, sorry.
that is
yeah.
pretty fucked. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's why they did so much damage eventually. Yeah, sorry. Well, I kind of tangented there through the battle. But so I personally defended that Fey domain. So because there's multiple in that country, I don't know exactly where we were. But if I was close enough, that Fey Queen would be like, "Well, you did save my forest." I'd be like, "Yes,
Yes.
now save my lineage."
But quicklings are actually fucking fucked.
Yeah.
Like challenge rating 1. Oh.
Wait, are quicklings a monster, or like a monster, or is it
Yeah,
a
they're a
race that you
monster.
can play? Oh, that's probably why I can't think of it. Yeah.
Yeah, quicklings are a small or tiny fey.
Giants are the natural prey of the enormous sectional chain insect of many legs. Later title, centipede. Well, I'm pretty sure it was a
Wham,
giant
wham,
centipede.
wham,
Yeah.
Well, no, giant centipedes are like small.
Yeah,
No, I think like giant, big ones.
Um,
Can you not summon big ones, or is it literal?
no, a
normal?
giant centipede.
Was it normal? Just was it
No,
normal?
a
Just
giant
centipedes.
centipede is like a small creature.
It's a dog.
Like
It's a
that big.
dog.
Okay, fair.
Dog-sized centipedes.
So you summon those things, bro.
Yeah, they paralyze shit.
I mean that makes sense. Yeah, but I was thinking you summon like massive ones.
Oh,
that, like,
that would be too powerful.
It's like when you said a giant elk. And we're just like, oh yeah, a big elk. And you're like, no, a giant elk.
Understand, giant.
And
This
I'm like,
is
oh,
20 plus
you mean-
feet.
you mean a giant elk.
Yes.
The ones
Yeah.
that are smarter than fucking our cleric.
oh, thanks.
I love it.
I mean, you're not wrong, but
Who
thanks.
stuck it with an arrow? Do you remember?
That was Astro.
Just like.
Yeah, because I remember that's I very much was pretty happy with the whole arrow thing you got. I didn't realize that was a thing.
I love that though.
What I was saying, quicklings. Challenge rating 1. AC of like 18 or some shit.
How the hell?
It's that's like how deer ticks are not the size of deer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good little comparison there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's understandable because at least I would think that because coming from like a hero campaign where I made an aboleth fly that you guys got shat out of.
No,
Yeah.
we didn't get shat out of. We rip started it.
you became anal beads in its asshole and then used rope to jump out of.
So,
Yes, that is
here's
something
why-
that happened.
Here's why quicklings are fucked.
Yeah.
So they've got an AC of 16.
Yes.
You're like, ooh, yeah, that's not that bad.
That's still pretty friggin'
You
powerful.
have disadvantage on attack rolls against them.
Oh.
16
Especially assuming that it's challenge rating 1.
It's challenge rating 1. It has 10 health. Its speed is 120 feet.
Holy fuck.
It's got 23 dex.
Bro, that thing is like on top of you at all times.
Plus 8 acrobatics, plus 8 sleight of hand, plus 8 stealth. Dark
That thing could
vision-
fucking sprint past you, give you a hand job, and then you would fucking not even notice.
Yep. It's also got
Flash me.
evasion.
Yeah. that one
also
of
got-
the splash villain. It was me, Barry. That one time you were talking to a woman, and I came in at speed
I
of
jerked
light.
you off.
I
Speed
jerked
of
you
sound.
off.
you thought you pre-ejaculated to the touch of a woman, but it was me.
It was me, Barry. That was great.
So,
Wait, when giants have trouble with giant centipedes, their only hope, rather giant centipede giants.
Oh,
Yes,
God.
that's accurate.
so they've got evasion as well. So you make them do a save. If they pass, they don't take half damage. They don't take damage.
Oh, I mean, to be fair, that makes sense.
Shit.
Yeah, if they're dodging out of the way, they're doing it quickly.
Uh,
Also, we've gone on a
And
massive
if it-
tangent from the idea of death.
if it fails
Oh, yeah.
as well,
Yep.
it only takes half damage.
That's concerning.
That's
Hold on.
insane.
Multi-attack. It makes 3 dagger attacks.
Oh, shank, shank, shank.
Yep. Its melee attack is a dagger, plus 8 to hit.
What?
Plus 8 to hit.
At level 1?
Yep.
Bruh. What
And
the fuck?
Its damage is 1d4 plus 6 piercing damage.
1d4?
I'm guessing it's got like what 2 health.
10.
10. Yeah. Hang on, wait. So maximum 10 damage, minimum 4, minimum 7.
Yep.
So average is 8.5.
Yep.
They can do that three times. So call that 24 or 25.5 average damage per turn.
Yep.
At level 1.
Yep.
What the fuck?
I should have just thrown quicklings at you.
Fuck you.
Don't do that.
Please don't.
I don't like quicklings. They're not balanced.
No, they're not.
Like
I was about to say you can probably easily kill them with AOE, but you can't.
Okay, so
because they've got evasion.
okay, so
Evasion.
so now we're changing the topic of conversation to punishing DMs.
Quicklings.
Yeah.
No, this is still on the topic of punishing players. Chuck quicklings at them.
True,
Oh,
true.
you're being a little shit.
Yes,
yeah.
Eldritch Blast, that's true, yeah.
Magic missile.
Yeah, Magic
Magic
Missile,
Missile.
guaranteed hit, yeah.
Perfect.
Actually, Magic Missile's probably
yeah.
the best thing you could do.
Magic missile would fuck them up.
Yeah, assuming that they're still within range.
Yeah.
Which would easily be, because what's the range?
If they're
of it?
attacking you and they move 120, so I think 120, assuming they end their turn attacking you,
Well, actually,
the next turn they move
evasion
away.
only affects dex saves.
True as well,
so you
yeah.
can use like an AoE con save.
Hopefully there's only 4, yeah. I reckon if you had a proper prepared party, yes. If you're throwing quicklings as they're exiting the cave where they've slaved away through a dungeon,
Oh, that's fucked. That's
you are
fucking brutal.
dead. If you don't have spell slots, you are fucked.
Yeah, like with my warlock, chuck some sickening radiance at them.
Mm.
They'd be fucked well quick
Mm.
because sickening radiance is like 3d10 damage per hit.
I presume as well you could probably grapple them.
What is it? The ability that the
plus one to a
Erdomain
con
guy
save.
has.
What's up?
They've only got +1 to a con save, so
No, but like grappling.
yeah, I
quickening,
mean, like,
yeah.
well, they can use acrobatics in a grappling.
True,
contest,
yeah,
so they
because
get
it's
+8.
you
on
have
that.
to use athletics, but they can use acrobatics or athletics.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yep.
concerning.
So don't grapple them.
Yeah, or if you do, be lucky.
How are you meant to get them?
Quickly, preferably.
You got to be quicker than the quickling.
Yeah, which would be difficult.
I reckon the domain of the Erdomain guy that I've made would be pretty good. His channel divinity is just simply like a burst of energy all around him, and I'm pretty sure it's a concept.
That's fair. Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
he deals like a good amount of damage, bang, all the way around him within
That's
20 feet. Oh, you know, I was thinking of a cool combo. I don't know if I said it earlier because I've got dementia. So no, bloody
The boys at 20 getting dementia real quick.
yeah, bloody what you can do is with the Erdomain is you can at will change radiant to necrotic and necrotic to radiant.
Yeah.
I was thinking, imagine using the spell harm on an undead and changing it to radiant.
Inflict wounds.
Yeah.
Hold on. You could always try the Scooby-Doo trick where you walk through a series of illogical doors in a hallway until the monsters are evaded. True. Very true.
Smart. Yeah, actually, that would
Assuming-
work.
Yeah. Assuming that they don't just catch up to you. But yeah.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. They'd be on your ass before you're even in the door.
Yeah.
I just
On and also in your ass.
kicked my bloody toes, just
Ooh.
healing. You know what happened the other day? I
What's up?
was working,
Yep.
Yeah.
and I stubbed my toe on
Mhm.
the skirting boards of my house,
Mhm.
because we're fucking around with them and we're going to change them. They're not on,
Oh,
so they're just sitting there. And what's happened is I've hit the corner and it's done this on my toe.
Oh, no.
And it ripped the tip of the skin off my little toe.
Ooh.
I thought, oh man, I just stubbed my toe, sat back down, started working, and I felt my.
Ow.
No, I started working. I was like, why is it so slippery under my foot?
Oh, blood.
Oh!
Yeah, that's generally probably not good, but yeah. Okay, we should probably actually get back to topic to some degree.
Yes.
Hang on. The sort of stuff where, with harm and heal being opposite for undead, has become more and more of a niche situational thing in D&D. Yeah, definitely. If you're facing undead, for example, you know, it's like your zombie army or whatever, that's only going to be applicable in one sort of circumstance.
Yeah.
Like negative energy flood or whatever it's called. It's good for healing like an undead a fair bit, but other than that, it's a pretty shit fucking spell.
Yeah. Okay, losing leads, rewards, or background opportunities. So, say for example you are a person who has a background like, oh, I need to track down someone who killed my parents or killed my wife or something like that. If you're going to be an asshole as a player, you just don't get the opportunity to follow.
All that, yeah.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's a thing that I try to avoid doing because, naturally, I want to see all my players and all my characters complete their story.
So losing rewards, that's I'd say that makes sense.
Yeah.
If they've done a unsatisfactory job
Yes.
in something they've been hired to do.
Yeah.
Because they've been doing something
They've
wrong.
been faffing around or whatever.
Yeah. Then give them no reward or less of a reward or something.
We've all watched Shield Hero, yes?
Hmm?
Yes, I know you've watched at least the first
Vaguely,
episode.
Yeah.
They have in the... wait, hold on, give me a second to mute. Okay, as I was saying, in Shield Hero, which is a show that roughly both myself and Matt have watched, I've shown, I think, the first episode to Chris. Two of the heroes, they don't actually get their rewards from the guild because technically a different party claimed them. However, they did actually just a shit job and didn't actually do the stuff themselves. I believe it ended up being the church that claimed the rewards, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, to defame.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you remember, Matt, in The Witcher 3, where, depending on what you say to some guy in Skellige, he might not pay you?
Yeah.
Like, he goes, "Oh, kill this dragon for me." And you're like, "Oh, a dragon? There's probably no dragons here." You're like, "It's a dragon, I'll tell you." And then you go hunt it down. It's not a dragon, it's a draconid. It's, like a fork tail.
Oh, yeah.
And then you go to him and you're like, "Oh, yeah, it wasn't a dragon, it was a fork tail." And he goes, "Oh, well, I paid you to kill a dragon. Here's like a third your pay."
Yeah. So, I remember not answering that because I knew. I was like, he's giving me dragon pay.
Yeah.
What was it? In my campaign, that little Mines of Phandelver one that I demolished. It was, like what I did when I gave you guys the scroll.
Yeah.
It's like, if you break that seal, that extra bit of money is worth nothing. So I wouldn't have made it so like you actively had to protect it. Obviously, it was never mentioned. But if you did something like fuck up and fall into like water,
Yeah, if it's
Or-
actively being, like
it's something that I
malicious.
had there. So if you did screw up hard enough, you might have lost a bonus.
Yeah, it's more just paying attention to what you're doing, right? We end up giving it to Halfling Boy because he's a halfling and has the ability to re-roll ones, I believe it was.
Yeah. So he was.
Yeah, so ideally that was... Also, he was the most dexterous. Come on, Dungeon Master, if the players are not working for your story, just have some NPCs walk in and resolve the plot for them. Best advice. Thing is, yeah, I feel probably all of...
this last podcast.
Yeah, I feel... And to be fair, I know both myself and I would also say Matt are probably both guilty of this, of having NPCs come in and save the party to some degree. But, yeah, I generally don't suggest it. Sarcasm, of course, yeah.
Like, Matt, did you see much of Dragon Heist? Holy fuck. I didn't like Dragon Heist. Like, the first combat, you're level 1.
Yeah.
You fight like 4 or 5 bandits, and then a troll rocks up with like 4 sturges.
Sturges, which are like vampirism
They're
on
like-
your health.
They're like mosquito bats.
Oh my god. I know. Oh, yeah. I know
Yeah,
what
yeah.
stage.
And then fucking after that fight, you don't level up.
So you just went through all that shit for nothing. It's kind of like Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Start of Bloodborne. Ooh, you're gonna. I remember killing that werewolf with my bare hands. I played it like once, one night, and I was like, yes, you get really nothing for it.
Yeah.
Because you're meant to die to it.
Yeah, it's one of those sort of situations where, and I'm not really too big of a fan of that sort of stuff. I think if you somehow, like, naturally my whole rule of thumb is, if it's a combat encounter where you're meant to lose and you still somehow win, then you should be rewarded, generally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, that's what happened in one of Steven's early campaigns.
Yep.
We got confronted by 2 fully plate mailed up.
Oh, I remember
armed
this. Yes.
mercs.
Yep, I remember
And
this.
they're like, oh. And the idea was that they would, knock us unconscious, like non-lethally attack us.
Yep.
And then,
We beat the shit out of them, but the person who played Kana in my campaign, his character actually died, and they resurrected him to try and get him to rat on us.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
No, I think
I died too there.
Did you?
Oh yeah, we
Yeah, I was the tiefling monk. I died.
no, that
fair.
wasn't right. That was when you died.
Oh, it wasn't?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because we ended up killing them, and I yoinked their armor.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, because
And
you were like,
I was like-
chainmail, no plate mail.
Yeah, I'm like, chainmail, fuck out of here. You know, I'm sure there's enough good plate mail bits here to slap them together and make a full plate mail. And
Yeah.
yes, I got plate mail.
Yeah, I mean, either way, it worked pretty well, anyways.
What a bigger.
But yeah, I think in that case we specifically kind of got lucky. What's up?
After dip.
Okay, fair. I was just about to say, probably around time that we wrap it up, we got to essentially scatter and go do our own things. So that being said, I'm going to at least end the recording here. Dragonheart should be a module about a party of super devoted fans of a new age medieval funk group called Dragon Heist, and you are trying to get to that concert. Hey, I mean, I'm definitely I'd be down with that. That sounds dope. But yeah, that being said, Matt has to dip, so we'll wrap up the recording. So as usual, thanks for stopping by and such. I'll be continuing the stream at least maybe for a little bit afterwards. But yeah, if you've watched till the end, thank you and good, and I appreciate it.
Good
Well,
night.
yes. Thank you and goodbye.